Chapter 1044 Reaching the next godhood level. After departing from Nithral's safe house, Michael used a teleportation scroll gifted to him by Eladir to arrive at the ominous demon's grave. The skies above the grave were a crimson red, creating an eerie atmosphere that matched the terrifying landscape. Michael's first objective was to locate the Queen's energy crystal and fulfill his promise to her. However, before he could do that, he had to ascend to the level 2 of godhood, the demigod level. In the distance, Mount Hades belched volcanic fumes into the crimson sky. The forge beneath the mountain awaited Michael's return, but for now, he had a different destination in mind. To trigger a heavenly tribulation and attain demigod-level power, he needed to face extreme heat. Mount Hades, with its bubbling lava and scorching temperatures, offered the perfect opportunity. Clad in his dark suit, Michael activated the powerful metal wings integrated into his armor. With a mighty flap, he defied the oppressive force of gravity and gracefully ascended into the crimson sky. As he soared higher, memories of his earlier arrival at the demon's grave resurfaced, when he struggled against the unyielding pull of gravity. Now, thanks to the enhancements of his armor, he effortlessly cut through the air, ascending towards the scorching summit of Mount Hades. With each powerful flap of his metal wings, Michael soared higher into the air, getting closer to the scorching summit of Mount Hades. As he approached, waves of intense heat washed over him from the bubbling lava-filled depths of the mountain. Despite his godly-powered body, he couldn't help but sweat profusely, feeling the intensity of the fiery environment. Finally, Michael landed on the mountain's peak, his gaze fixed on the boiling, oozing lava below. He hesitated for a moment, contemplating the system's instructions to immerse himself in the lava. With a hint of sarcasm, he addressed the system, questioning its peculiar plan. "Do you really want me to go into the lava? Did I do something to you?" Michael asked, a mix of humor and concern evident in his voice. The system replied, "Your body needs to be tempered with each element in its most powerful form. First, the fire. This lava isn't the purest form, but it'll have to do for now. Now imagine the lava as a cool swimming pool and jump down." Rolling his eyes at the rather simplistic suggestion, Michael couldn't help but feel a mix of annoyance and amusement. "Imagine it as a swimming pool and jump down? That's your plan?" He scoffed, feeling the challenge ahead of him. With the system's insistence, Michael braced himself for what was to come. He knew he had to trust the system, even if the idea of jumping into scorching lava seemed absurd. With a firm resolve, he reminded the system, "If I die, make sure to bring me back through the Project Phoenix." The system responded in its usual nonchalant manner, "You are not going to die. Maybe get some burns. Nothing a healing potion can't fix." Though skeptical, Michael understood he had little choice. He removed his armor, setting it aside, and focused his power to store it safely within the system. Standing atop the building, naked under the ominous glow of the lava's fiery light, Michael's body bore the marks of his many battles, illuminated by the deep orange hues. "Here goes nothing." Summoning his courage, he took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. With determination, he ran to the edge and, shouting, closed his eyes and leaped straight into the molten pit. Fuck! As his body made contact with the lava, an agonizing surge of pain coursed through him. It felt as if every nerve ending was ablaze, but before his mind could fully register the torment, he was enveloped by the searing liquid. The world around him became a hazy blur of intense heat and burning sensations. Inside the dilapidated castle, Andor stood in disarray. His once noble and composed appearance was now replaced by torn clothes, disheveled hair, and bloodshot eyes, reflecting his inner turmoil. Suddenly, a radiant light illuminated the castle, revealing the presence of Seraphine, the goddess of information. Her form, as always, was pure light, and she observed the state of the castle with surprise. Andor, who was known for his calm demeanor, seemed agitated and distressed. "I thought you would be celebrating, Andor," Seraphine spoke gently, trying to understand the reason behind his turmoil. "That motherfucker fooled me." Andor's voice thundered through the castle, causing the walls to tremble under the force of his anger. "What do you mean? Your archenemy, the god of darkness, is dead?" Seraphine inquired. "Then why can't I return to the realm of gods? The barrier is still intact." Andor's frustration was evident. For 5,000 years, he had believed that the death of either the Dark Lord or Noah, the god of light, would shatter the barrier separating the mortal realm from the realm of the gods, a barrier created by the previous Dark Lord. In his current state of distress, Andor was grappling with the shocking revelation that the barrier remained untouched, despite the Dark Lord's supposed demise. The uncertainty of the situation weighed heavily on him, and his emotions ran high, causing him to vent his frustration with a powerful shout that shook the very foundation of his crumbling castle. However, to Andor's disbelief, nothing happened as he had believed. The Dark Lord had supposedly been killed by his own brother Noah, using the god-killing arrows, yet the barrier remained steadfast and unchanged. Maybe we don't fully understand the nature of the barrier, Seraphine tried to reason with Andor, her voice calm and reassuring. The Dark Lord was slain by the god of light, Andor. I witnessed the energy fluctuation and saw his body blown into pieces. But Andor's agitation was evident as he manically shook his head. He couldn't have died. He must have faked his damn death. How else am I still here? He questioned, his emotions in turmoil. The idea that the Dark Lord had somehow orchestrated his own death to deceive everyone, including Andor, gnawed at him. Don't freak out, Andor. With the god of darkness gone, the Pantheon can now investigate the barrier further, Seraphine said in an attempt to console him. But Andor's anger was overwhelming, and he roared with sheer might, shaking the castle to its core. Enough, he thundered, his frustration evident in every fiber of his being. You promised that if I helped you fight Dagon to keep him at bay from reaching the realm of gods, you would seek help from the Pantheon and free me from this wretched place. I have had enough of this. I want to get out of here right now. Andor shouted, his voice echoing through the crumbling walls. As he roared, the time and space around him distorted, a testament to his power as the god of time and space. His anger was so immense that it caused the very fabric of reality to tremble. Time in the entire mortal realm seemed to freeze momentarily, feeling the strain of Andor's overwhelming rage. Calm down, Andor. You have waited all these years to see the Dark Lord's demise, and now your wish has come true. It's only a matter of time before we break the barrier, Seraphine urged, attempting to soothe him. She had anticipated that Andor would be celebrating his long-awaited freedom, but instead, his frustration and restlessness were palpable. He had believed that the barrier keeping him trapped would shatter once either the Dark Lord or Noah met their end, yet the situation had not unfolded as he expected. Without the Dark Lord to anchor the barrier, it was only a matter of time before we find the rest of the seal-bearers and kill them. I'm certain that once the seal-bearers are dead, the barrier will crumble. Without the Dark Lord, it'd be as easy as plucking flowers to kill the seal-bearers. Seraphine's words seemed to soothe Andor's anger. Can you do me a favor, Seraphine? Andor turned around to face Seraphine's radiant light form. Anything for you, Andor, she replied. Go to the goddess of wisdom and inquire about what would happen when a god dies, Andor said with a grave tone. I don't want that slippery bastard to fool me once again, he added, his mind filled with killing intent towards his archenemy, the Dark Lord, also known as the God of Darkness. What are you thinking, Andor? Seraphine asked curiously. If we were to figure out what would happen when a god dies, we can truly know if the Dark Lord died or if that son of a bitch faked his death. But the only person who might possess such knowledge outside the Pantheon would be your sister, the goddess of wisdom, Andor explained with determination in his voice. When Andor mentioned seeking help from the goddess of wisdom, Seraphine fell silent. She and her sister weren't on great terms, and dealing with the goddess of wisdom's cryptic messages was always a challenge. You know how she is. I'm the goddess of information and her sister, but even I have a hard time decoding her cryptic messages, Seraphine said, her annoyance evident in her voice. We have no choice, Seraphine. If that bastard survived, he would never reveal himself. I know how he thinks. He will be striving to become even stronger as we speak. Once he reaches the demigod level, no one can keep surveillance on him. He will operate alone in the shadows. You have no idea what he is capable of when he's hidden. You and the entire Pantheon would be walking with a target on your backs, Andor warned, his voice filled with concern and urgency. Very well, Andor. I will go talk to her. But if I were you, I wouldn't hold my breath. She can be quite elusive, Seraphine sighed, acknowledging the difficulty of dealing with the goddess of wisdom. Honey, if the god of darkness is alive, his next move would be to meet Dagon. We must prevent them from allying. Otherwise, you and the Pantheon are as good as lost in the war, Andor said with a hint of amusement in his voice. The light surrounding Seraphine gradually faded away as she left the castle, returning it to its previous eerie look. Now alone, Andor stood in the middle of the castle, his mind consumed with thoughts of how to confront and defeat the Dark Lord. However, for the first time in a long time, Andor felt a sense of unease. He feared that he might be losing his edge in the ongoing battle against the elusive and cunning God of Darkness. Chapter 1045. Reaching the next godhood level. Too deep within the fiery pits of Mount Hades, Michael endured the excruciating pain of the lava melting his flesh. The intense heat pushed his limits to the maximum. According to the system, to trigger a heavenly tribulation and ascend to the demigod level, he had to undergo a trial by a specific element. In this case, it was the trial by fire. His mind, soul, and body were being tested to their utmost capacity as he braved the scorching heat of the molten pit. Inside the lava where no one could see, Michael surrounded himself with the dark flames to endure the volcanic lava. As he was cultivating, his mind wandered into another realm. Soon, Michael found himself in a desolate, nightmarish landscape, the skies above a pitch-black void. Strange, shadowy creatures lurked in the darkness, their glowing eyes fixated on him. These monstrous beings were the illusions he had to face to ascend to the demigod level. The creatures appeared as dark, ethereal beings with elongated limbs and sharp claws. Their bodies seemed to be made of an ever-shifting inky substance, and their eyes emitted an eerie glowing light. Each creature had unique features, some resembling twisted amalgamations of multiple animals, while others seemed to embody the embodiment of fear itself. These creatures were purposefully created by the universe to challenge and temper Michael as the god of darkness. Every god had to undergo different trials to ascend to the next level of their godhood. While some trials were easier, others, like Michael's or Rudra, the god of war, faced much harder tests to reach the next stage of their divine power. As Michael confronted the illusions, the whispers of the creatures echoed through the nightmarish landscape. Their voices were haunting, weaving through the darkness like sinister melodies. "Look at him, stumbling in the shadows," one creature hissed, its eyes glowing with malice. "The Dark Lord, they call him. But does he truly understand the power he wields?" Another creature chimed in, its voice sly and taunting. "Oh, he may think he's embraced the darkness, but he's yet to comprehend its true essence. Darkness is not just the absence of light. It's the embodiment of all that lies within the hearts of living beings." Michael, battered and determined, could hear the whispers surrounding him. Despite the pain, he questioned the creatures. "What are you? Illusions born from my fears, or something more?" A third creature slithered closer, its form shifting and contorting in the shadows. "We are the manifestation of your doubts, your insecurities, and your deepest fears," it rasped. "But we are more than just illusions. We are the echoes of the power you seek." Michael's curiosity piqued and he asked, "What do you mean, the power I seek?" "I am the Dark Lord, the god of darkness. I have embraced the shadows within me." "Oh, but darkness is not just about destruction and chaos," the first creature replied, its voice echoing with ancient wisdom. "A true god of darkness has the power to harness and control the darkness within others. It is the power to influence minds, to manipulate emotions, and to bend the will of both mortals and immortals alike." The second creature continued, its tone eerie and mesmerizing. "With darkness comes the ability to cloak oneself in secrecy, to move unseen through the world, and to strike fear into the hearts of those who oppose you. It is not just brute strength, but a subtle, insidious power that can control the very fabric of existence." Michael listened intently, beginning to grasp the deeper significance of the darkness he wielded. "So, a god of darkness can control the darkness within people," he pondered, "making them instruments of their will?" "Indeed," the third creature hissed, "but it is not without consequences. The darkness can consume both the wielder and the wielded. A god of darkness must master the balance between wielding this power and succumbing to its allure." The first creature added, "And that is where true strength lies. The power to control the darkness without letting it control you." As Michael absorbed their words, he realized that embracing darkness was not merely about brute strength or ruling through fear. It was about understanding the intricacies of the shadows and their influence on both the world and oneself. The second creature whispered seductively, "Join us, Dark Lord. Embrace the true power of darkness and become an unstoppable force." As Michael stood firm, empowered by his newfound understanding of darkness, he was taken aback as more and more creatures emerged from the shadows. They swirled around him, their forms shifting and twisting with malevolence. Their sudden attack left him confused and shocked, as just moments ago, they were whispering and conversing with him. Before he could react, the creatures lunged at him, their movements swift and relentless. Michael tried to fight back, but his attack seemed futile against these spectral entities. Their dark tendrils coiled around him, restricting his movements and draining his strength. In the midst of the chaos, the creatures revealed their true intentions. With ghastly precision, they reached into Michael's very being, pulling out wisps of darkness that took the shape of his deepest fears. One by one, the shapes materialized into haunting figures. Among them was Spectre, the mentor who had once turned him into a ruthless hitman on Earth. The Spectre wore the same dark hooded cloak, his cold eyes locking onto Michael's. The memories of his past life as an assassin flooded back, stirring feelings of guilt and remorse. Beside Spectre stood a tall, menacing orc, the very same one who had been possessed by the god of war Rudra's sliver of grace and attacked him on his wedding day. The orc's eyes glowed with malevolence as he wielded a wicked, blood-stained blade. The fear of losing his loved ones all over again gripped Michael's heart. These manifestations of his fears and past experiences were overwhelming, and for a moment, Michael felt helpless against the onslaught. The creatures seemed to feed on his vulnerability, their sinister laughter echoing in the dark abyss. However, as he struggled to regain control, he remembered the whispers of the creatures before their betrayal. The true power of darkness was not just about destruction but also about harnessing and controlling the shadows within. Drawing upon his new understanding, he steadied his mind and focused on the darkness within himself. As Michael confronted the illusions, each attack from Spectre, the orc, and the creatures felt terrifyingly real. He was thrown, slashed, and pummeled by these spectral foes, causing immense pain and challenging his determination. With every blow he endured, the system instantly rebuilt his body, allowing him to persevere. While Michael was confronting the darkness inside his mind, the lava and dark flames slowly melted down his skin. At that moment, Michael's flesh slowly melted down, revealing his skeleton. But soon, the dark flames slowly coiled around every bone in his body and started to rebuild his flesh. The seed of darkness Michael acquired after completing a speed trial in the form of golden energy slowly infused with the dark flames to enhance his speed. On the other hand, the system started to upgrade all his spells. The system has upgraded the Silene spell to level 2. The system has upgraded the Meteor spell to level 2. The system has upgraded the Energy Devour to level 6. The system has upgraded the Soul Eater to level 6. The system has upgraded the Soul Stare to level 5. The system has upgraded the Responsive Shield to level 9. The system has upgraded the Environment Scanning to level 9. Inside Michael's mind, the battle against the darkness raged on. The creatures of darkness, led by Spectre and the menacing orc, relentlessly attacked him. Each blow felt agonizingly real, and the pain was intense. Michael struggled to hold his ground, feeling overwhelmed by the relentless assault. But something inside him snapped. With a fierce roar, he unleashed a powerful shockwave that sent the dark creatures flying backward. The whispers of the creatures echoed in his mind, urging him to embrace the darkness, to feel the connection that bound them all. His eyes closed, and he embraced the connection to the darkness, sensing the pulsating energy within the creatures. The whispers grew louder, goading him to tap into his true self, to embrace the darkness that was part of him as the god of darkness. Amidst the pummeling from Spectre and the orc, Michael opened his eyes, unflinching as if welcoming the pain. He allowed the attacks to hit him without yielding an inch, drawing strength from the growing connection to the darkness. With newfound clarity, he reached out with his hand, his touch suffused with power. He felt the beating heart of darkness within the creatures and understood that this was an integral part of his own power as the god of darkness. With conviction, he crushed the darkness within them, absorbing it into himself. As the dark creatures were stilled by Michael's actions, their whispered encouragements intensified. They urged him to embrace their essence, to become one with the darkness. Michael, now embracing his role as the god of darkness, stood tall and unyielding. With each dark creature he absorbed, he felt a surge of strength and confidence coursing through him. His form grew larger within his own mind, towering over the defeated creatures. Yes, embrace it. Become one with the darkness. The creatures urged, their voices resonating with excitement. Michael's determination was unwavering, and he continued absorbing the darkness within them. As he did, a new sensation washed over him, a power that felt innate, beyond the system's limitations. It was his own power as the god of darkness, and it surged through him, making him feel more potent than ever before. At that moment, he realized that he had always possessed this power within himself, waiting to be acknowledged and harnessed. It wasn't just a title given to him. It was who he truly was. Congratulations to the host for reaching level 2 of the godhood, demigod level. An innate power has unlocked. Body reconstruction has 65% completed. As Michael battled the darkness within his mind, a sudden echo reverberated through the dark realm. It was the voice of the system, breaking through the haunting whispers of the creatures. As the system's voice reached him, the darkness began to gradually fade away, leaving a sense of clarity in its wake. In the realm of volcanic lava, Michael's body was encased by the dark flames and the system's power. Slowly, he emerged from the molten pit, floating effortlessly in the air. The dark armor of the god of darkness gently covered his once naked body, bestowing him with an imposing and powerful appearance. His hair, as black as the night, cascaded down to his shoulders, adding to his formidable aura. The transformation was complete, and Michael now exuded an air of confidence and strength as the god of darkness. Chapter 1046. On the way to Council of Immortals. After ascending to level 2 of godhood, Michael stood proudly atop Mount Hades, his fist clenched in determination. The power within him surged, and dark flames flickered and danced around his body. However, before he could take a step forward, a commanding voice echoed through the realm. "Where is my promised soul peace?" demanded the unmistakable voice of the queen, radiating immense power. Recognizing the urgency in her tone, Michael replied without hesitation, "I am on my way to retrieve it right now." "No excuses. Idiot!" The queen's anger erupted, and Michael was pushed backward by the force of her shout. She continued, her voice seething, "The mortals have found my crystal and are attempting to extract my soul piece. I want it back immediately. Do you have any clues about its location?" Michael inquired, mindful to remain respectful in his tone. He knew better than to provoke an ancient powerful entity like the queen, especially since he intended to use her in the impending war against the gods. "The place they call the Council of Immortals," the queen revealed. "It's as good as done. I will retrieve it within 4 days, Michael assured her, confident in his abilities to fulfill the task. "You have 2 days. The queen's roar echoed through Michael's mind before her presence faded away. With a heavy sigh, Michael activated his metal wings and gracefully soared away from Mount Hades. As he flew, the colossal bulls still grazed in the distance, and the monsters roamed freely, but none dared to challenge the god of darkness. Soon, Michael left the eerie demon's grave behind and appeared high above the sea surrounding the Aur continent. From this vantage point, he could see the vast expanse of Aur, with its cold mountains in the north covered in snow. The tallest peak reached into the clouds, standing majestically beyond their reach. To conceal his true identity, Michael suppressed his powerful cultivation level to appear as a mere core-strengthening stage cultivator. He donned silver robes over his dark armor and wrapped himself in a cloak, carefully hiding his face with the hood. The last thing he needed was for anyone to recognize him and spread the news that the feared Dark Lord was still alive. Concealing his face and cultivation level, Michael flew swiftly toward the cold mountains. For ordinary cultivators, the journey would have taken months, but thanks to his newly attained demigod-level powers, he reached the vicinity of the cold mountains in just 10 hours. The region was thick with arch and celestial energy, making it a coveted destination for those seeking breakthroughs beyond the soul-refining stage. However, the extreme cold rendered the place uninhabitable and perilous for most. Many cultivators who attempted the journey either succeeded in their breakthroughs or met their end in the freezing temperatures. The top of the tallest mountain in the cold range, Mount Galleon, served as the headquarters of the Council of Immortals. The energies there were abundant and potent, attracting cultivators from all over who hoped to attain higher stages of cultivation. The mountain's sheer size made even Mount Everest pale in comparison. As Michael approached the mountain, he noticed several groups of cultivators heading towards the cold range. Among them was a group of young cultivators adorned in bright ruby-red robes adorned with intricate golden engravings. Their youthful appearance, arrogant demeanor, and the expensive jewelry they wore hinted at their belonging to a prominent sect in Aur. The remaining groups consisted mostly of elderly men, clearly stuck in cultivation bottlenecks and seeking seclusion within the cold mountains to progress further. Michael quickly activated the APD to inject a hair growth pill into his bloodstream. Soon, a thick black beard sprouted on his face, adding to his disguise. His long hair completed the transformation, making it nearly impossible for anyone to recognize him as the feared Dark Lord. With the upgraded environmental scanning ability, Michael sensed several powerful beings in the vicinity of the mountain. Though strong, none of them came close to his level. These figures stood at the fusion stage, half-immortal stage, and immortal stage of cultivation. Michael knew that the immortals would be stationed at their headquarters atop the peak of Mount Galleon. As he approached the mountain, Michael felt the presence of an energy dome surrounding it. True to his senses, a translucent white barrier enveloped the cold mountains. By the time he slowed his flight, the sun had set, and the mountains were bathed in the soft glow of 4 dazzling moons and the shimmering light of stars. The snow under the moonlight seemed to sparkle with its own radiance. Once Michael and the other groups reached the outskirts of the cold mountain and noticed the barrier, a beast-man floated through it and ordered everyone to stop. This beast-man had the upper body of a hyena and the lower body of a human. Clad in hand-woven brown robes, he looked formidable, and his half-immortal stage cultivation shocked and surprised everyone present. The cold mountains are closed for flying. To reach the summit, please continue on foot, the beast-man stated firmly. An old man with a hunchback and dressed in black robes questioned the beast-man's decision. What is the meaning of this? I traveled all the way from Azare continent, and I haven't heard that the mountains are closed for cultivators, he said. His annoyance evident, though he still maintained respect for the guardian of the cold mountains and the servant of the Council of Immortals. Another youngster from the group, dressed lavishly in fine clothes, voiced his frustration. How are we supposed to reach the summit without flying? Do you expect us to trudge through this freezing cold all the way to the top? He demanded. The guardian of the cold mountains simply replied, Yes. If you enter the mountain range and start walking, you can reach the summit in 2 months, the guardian added matter-of-factly. Inside, Michael couldn't help but snicker at the thought of taking 2 months to reach the summit. The queen had given him only 2 days to retrieve the crystal containing a piece of her soul. His mission was complex, as he had to retrieve the crystal without revealing his true identity as the Dark Lord. If news of his survival got out, the world would know that the Dark Lord had not perished but instead faked his death. You can try to fly, but we have arrays and runes in place to prevent it. Now, if you don't agree with the new rules, you're free to turn around and leave. Have a good day, the guardian replied calmly before turning around and disappearing above the clouds, flying away. With no other choice, the cultivators sighed in resignation and reluctantly accepted the new restrictions. They knew they had to leave behind the comfort of flying and make their way to the summit on foot. What an arrogant jerk, one of the lavishly dressed youngsters muttered, disdain evident in his voice as he descended to the ground. Following the group's lead, Michael also descended to the ground. As he landed in knee-high snow, he was greeted by a scene of pure white, with mist swirling and the wind howling around him. The snowstorm raged fiercely, making it challenging for many cultivators to see even their own hands in front of them. However, Michael activated his X-ray vision, allowing him to see through the blizzard with ease. He observed every cultivator using thermal vision to navigate through the snowy landscape. Playing along, Michael joined the group, walking through the snow with determination. He knew that, for now, he had to blend in with the other cultivators to accomplish his mission without drawing attention to himself. Michael! Michael, where the hell are you? Suddenly, Gaia's voice echoed in Michael's mind. What's wrong? Michael asked. I've been trying to reach you for 4 days. Where have you been? Gaia's voice held a tinge of worry. I came to the cold mountains to retrieve the Queen's soul crystal, Michael explained. The soul crystal in the cold mountains? How did it end up there? Gaia asked, clearly shocked. The immortals somehow got hold of it and took it to their headquarters on Galleon Mountain. I have only 2 days to get it back for the Queen, Michael replied. Those idiots have no idea what they're messing with, do they? All right, do you need my help? Gaia offered. No, take care of things on your end. I'll handle the immortals, Michael assured her. But how do you plan to deal with them? If you kill them, news of their deaths will spread like wildfire, and I'll need to control the newspapers and craft a different narrative, Gaia explained, well aware that any deaths linked to the immortals would lead people to suspect the involvement of the Dark Lord, even if he had faked his demise. They won't die. They'll simply disappear, Michael replied, a cold snicker escaping him. As the group of cultivators made their way through the relentless snowstorm toward the summit of the cold mountains, the youngsters who were previously dressed in lavish red robes grew increasingly agitated. Their complaints and frustration echoed through the freezing air. I can't believe they expect us to walk through this freezing wasteland. This is absurd, one of the youngsters exclaimed. his face red from both anger and the biting cold. Who do they think they are? Treating us like this is unacceptable. Discontent and annoyance. The icy wind seemed to carry their grievances as if the mountains themselves were bearing witness to another young cultivator yelled, his breath visible in the frosty air as he spoke. This is a complete waste of our time. We should be soaring through the skies, not trudging through the snow like commoners. A third youngster chimed in, stomping his feet to keep warm. Each step through the knee-deep snow seemed like an arduous task, and their complaints grew louder with every passing moment. Their voices mixed with the howling wind, creating a chorus of discontent and annoyance. The icy wind seemed to carry their grievances as if the mountains themselves were bearing witness to their displeasure. Despite their protests, the group had no choice but to continue on foot, leaving their ability to fly behind as they followed the Guardian's orders. With each passing minute, their complaints grew more fervent, and they questioned the Immortal Council's reasoning for enforcing such a demanding rule. Why are they even doing this? It's like they want to make our lives miserable. One of them shouted in frustration. As the young cultivators trudged on, their footsteps leaving deep imprints in the snow, their discontentment showed no signs of waning. Their voices echoed through the cold mountains, expressing their dissatisfaction with the Immortal Council's decision to ban flying in the region. It was clear that this new rule was not sitting well with them, and they were determined to make their displeasure known as they ventured towards the distant summit. Michael couldn't help but feel a connection between the sudden ban on flying and the Immortals retrieving the Queen's crystal containing a piece of her soul. He knew there had to be some significance behind it, but the question remained, what were the Immortals planning to do with the crystal? The memory of the dwarf's disastrous attempt to use a crystal containing the Queen's soul piece flashed in his mind, a grim reminder of the potential dangers involved. As Michael continued forward, he suddenly felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. The other cultivators also sensed the disturbance and came to a halt, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. "I think it's an avalanche," one of them cried out, fear evident in his voice. "Find a cave or something, quick," another cultivator urged, the panic spreading among the group. The cultivators, despite their magical abilities, knew better than to underestimate the treacherous power of the cold mountains. Even the strongest fusion stage cultivator could meet their demise in these icy peaks. The urgency in their movements increased as they searched for shelter, hoping to avoid the wrath of the impending avalanche and survive the harsh conditions of the cold mountains. In the midst of the chaos, Michael calmly activated his environmental scanning ability to locate a suitable cave. With a quick scan, he identified a sheltered cave nearby. Using the shadows as cover, he swiftly employed his shadow teleportation technique, disappearing from sight in the blink of an eye. In just a few blinks, he had effortlessly reached the safety of the cave, leaving the other cultivators unaware of his movements. Chapter 1047. A mighty dragon called the Snowstalker. As chaos and destruction reigned in the cold mountains, Michael found solace and safety inside a cave, biding his time for the opportune moment to continue his journey towards the summit where the Council of Immortals' headquarters lay. Amidst the howling winds and the relentless snowstorm, Michael's acute senses picked up a distinct roar, cutting through the cacophony. Reacting swiftly, he activated his environmental scanning map to locate the source of the disturbance. Outside the cave, a half-immortal being moved in a frenzied and disoriented manner, adding to the chaos of the storm. With heightened senses, Michael closed his eyes and focused on the sounds emanating from outside. He could hear distant shouts and a chilling scream, signaling the perilous situation of the cultivators caught in the avalanche. Curiosity getting the better of him, Michael ventured outside the safety of the cave. The moment he activated his X-ray eyes, his vision was enhanced, allowing him to see through the blizzard with ease. He noticed the thermal signatures of the cultivators desperately trying to flee the avalanche, their bodies emitting distinct heat patterns. But among them, something caught Michael's attention. An enormous thermal signature moving at a speed too fast for a normal cultivator and too large to be a human. The colossal presence amidst the storm sparked Michael's curiosity, and alerted him to the possibility of something powerful and dangerous lurking in the cold mountains. "Interesting," Michael mumbled to himself as he quickly changed his robes to pure white, seamlessly blending in with the snowstorm. While everyone else was fleeing from the shaking avalanche, Michael walked confidently towards it. He had no fear of the puny avalanche since, in the eyes of onlookers, he appeared to be at the core strengthening stage. Little did they know that in reality, he possessed the power of a celestial stage level 6 cultivator, as well as being a level 2 god. Floating above the knee-high snow, Michael effortlessly moved forward. But suddenly, As if someone had intervened, the storm ceased. The ground stopped trembling, and everything returned to a state of eerie calm, leaving everyone bewildered. The cultivators who had been desperately trying to save themselves now stood in shock, covered in snow. Meanwhile, the group of youngsters that Michael had noticed earlier stood their ground, armed with swords, bows, and spears, as though prepared to face an imminent threat. "Stop gawking at us. We have a snow stalker among us." The youngsters stood together, raising their voices and accusing someone of being a snow stalker. Michael furrowed his brows, as he had never heard of such a term before. However, he had sensed the presence of a half-immortal being and a powerful thermal signature just moments ago. Coupled with what the disciples were saying, Michael realized that there was something among them, something powerful and potentially dangerous. "Quickly, make fire!" One of the youngsters, a blonde-haired young man, urgently shouted at his friend. Without hesitation, his companion conjured a ball of golden-orange flames in his hand. However, before they could defend themselves, something massive, a colossal creature, swooped down from the snow-laden clouds above and snatched the young man with its giant claws. The cultivators and disciples were frozen in shock at the sight, but Michael quickly realized the gravity of the situation. A dragon! Michael was astonished to see a dragon among them. "Create fires if you want to survive," the disciples urged, impressing Michael with their knowledge of dealing with the dangerous creature. "What the heck was that thing? We can't possibly fight that beast." Panicked cries echoed from all directions as the cultivators, both young and old, were gripped by fear. Even the experienced cultivators looked pale and trembling in the presence of such a formidable opponent. But the group of youngsters, the ones who had earlier exhibited arrogance, remained resolute, showing no signs of backing down in the face of danger. The snow stalker hunts its prey by detecting the heat around your body. So if you don't make fire and divert its attention, we are all in trouble, the youngsters explained urgently. Their words snapped the cultivators out of their fear, and they quickly conjured fireballs, throwing them far away to create fiery distractions. Amidst the chaos, Michael heard a deafening roar, accompanied by a powerful gust of wind. Looking up, he saw a disturbance in the snow clouds, confirming his suspicion that the dragon, known as the Snow Stalker, was on the move. The creature swooped down and snatched the burning snow where the fireballs had exploded, following the targets the cultivators had created. "Keep doing it until we reach a safe place," the youngsters instructed as they began to move forward. Michael's eyes locked with theirs, and he noticed a sly smile on the face of their leader, a golden-haired young man in his late 20s. "Sly bastards," Michael chuckled, amused by their clever trickery. The youngsters had effectively used the older cultivators' fear to their advantage, creating diversions for the dragon while they made their escape. "What are you up to?" Michael asked himself, puzzled by their presence in the cold mountains. Unlike the older cultivators who were often stuck at a bottleneck, these young cultivators showed no signs of restriction. All of them were at the core strengthening stage, a decent cultivation level for their age. Yet, they had chosen to venture into the cold mountains, a place where older cultivators seclude themselves in hopes of breaking through to the next stage or meeting their end. Michael couldn't help but wonder what their true intentions were, and why they had come to a place typically reserved for those seeking cultivation breakthroughs. If only Michael had the luxury of time, he would have followed the group of youngsters to uncover the reason behind their presence in the cold mountains. However, urgency fueled his actions, and he had a different plan in mind. Stepping away from the cultivators, Michael carefully observed the situation. As all eyes remained fixated on the skies, Michael swiftly lowered his hands, conjuring 2 lightning bolts that shot him upwards with incredible force. He defied the arrays and runes placed around the cold mountains, meant to hinder cultivators from flying. These restrictions were effective against those below the immortal stage, but Michael's power far surpassed that level, rendering the barriers ineffective against him. In a flash, he soared through the thick snow clouds and freezing air. Above the clouds, Michael finally beheld the imposing figure of the Snow Stalker. The dragon's massive form cut through the swirling storm, a creature both fearsome and majestic. The colossal dragon, with its white scales gleaming like fresh snow, seemed to blend seamlessly with the wintry surroundings. Its majestic wings, spanning wide like a mountain range, flapped slowly, sending gusts of icy wind through the air. The creature's piercing blue eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, radiating an aura of chilling power. As the dragon moved, the very air around it seemed to freeze, leaving a trail of frost in its wake. The cold emanating from its body was palpable, causing the surrounding temperature to drop significantly. The ground beneath the dragon's massive claws was covered in a layer of frost, and its breath appeared as misty plumes, giving a glimpse of the glacial power within. The dragon's presence was both awe-inspiring and intimidating, a living embodiment of the harsh and unforgiving nature of the cold mountains. Despite its imposing stature, the creature moved with an eerie grace, effortlessly navigating the treacherous terrain. Its appearance was a true reflection of the might and majesty of a creature revered in myths and legends, a being whose very existence demanded reverence and respect. With a sly smile on his face, Michael conjured a small ball of dark flames above his hands, the intense heat catching the attention of the colossal dragon. The creature's blue eyes locked onto Michael as it roared and swiftly changed its course, abandoning its pursuit of the cultivators on the ground to confront this new challenger. "Come closer, darling," Michael taunted, luring the dragon toward him. As the dragon closed in, jaws wide to devour him, Michael struck with lightning speed, delivering a powerful punch right to the dragon's face. The force of his blow sent the massive creature hurtling through the sky despite its immense size. In a daring move, Michael leaped into the air and landed squarely on the dragon's back, taking advantage of its momentary disorientation. Brandishing his dark sword, he drove the weapon deep into the dragon's scaly hide, causing the creature to roar in pain and unleash a frigid stream of ice breath from its mouth. Yet, Michael remained undeterred, tightly holding onto the hilt of the sword as he guided the dragon upwards. "We're going for a ride, baby," Michael declared with grim determination. Utilizing his godly strength and control over darkness, he steered the dragon upward, directing it straight toward the summit of Mount Galleon, where the Council of Immortals awaited. As Michael clung tightly to the dragon's back, the creature attempted to shake him off with frantic barrel rolls and vigorous body movements. But Michael's grip remained steadfast, and with his godly strength, he thwarted the dragon's efforts to dislodge him. As they ascended higher into the sky, the wind whipped against Michael's face, its cold sting contrasting with the heat of the dark flame surrounding him. The scene around him transformed as they climbed to greater heights. The storm clouds enveloped them, and the snow and hail battered against Michael's body. Despite the harsh conditions, he pressed on, his determination unwavering. Through the haze of the storm, he caught a glimpse of the peak of Mount Galleon in the distance, its snow-covered majesty rising above the clouds. The dragon's wings beat powerfully, carrying them closer to the summit, where the Council of Immortals resided. As they soared higher, the storm clouds gradually gave way to a serene, ethereal landscape. Michael found himself flying above the clouds, the world below obscured by a sea of white mist. The air became thinner, and the cold more biting, but he persisted, driven by his mission to retrieve the Queen's crystal. Amidst the clouds, he spotted a sight that stood out amidst the snowy expanse, a humble manor made of glistening marble stones. It seemed out of place in this secluded and frigid environment, yet its simplicity and elegance caught Michael's attention. The manor stood proudly, surrounded by an air of mystique and secrecy, like a hidden sanctuary atop the world. As the dragon let out a pained scream and stopped flying, Michael sensed that something within the manor was causing distress to the creature. He decided to release the dragon, knowing it had fulfilled its purpose in carrying him closer to the summit. Gently, he retrieved his dark sword from the dragon's back. Curiosity gnawed at Michael as he observed the dragon's behavior. It was as if the manor held some mysterious power that deterred the creature from getting any closer. Determined to find out what lay within, Michael chose not to press the dragon any further. "Something intriguing must be happening in there," he mused to himself, deciding to let the dragon go. With a compassionate gesture, Michael retrieved a healing potion from his space ring and tossed it onto the dragon's wounded back. The potion shattered upon impact, its magic swiftly mending the dragon's injury. "Happy hunting," Michael patted the dragon, acknowledging its assistance. With a tap on his chest, his dark armor materialized and encased him from head to toe. His metallic wings unfurled, and with powerful flaps, he soared towards the mysterious marble manor, where he believed the Council of Immortals resided. "System, disable the security measures surrounding the manor and make me invisible to their detection," Michael requested with a calm demeanor as he hovered in the sky. With his impressive 80 million badass points, Michael exuded confidence in his ability to infiltrate any location. It will cost the host 1 million badass points. The security measures won't be permanently disabled, but a rune will be placed upon the host, rendering you undetectable by the manor's security measures. "That works too," Michael replied calmly, accepting the system's terms without hesitation. Chapter 1048 Gods are about to fight inside the elegant manor atop Mount Galleon, A group of 5 immortals stood around a polished round table, deep in serious discussion. The meeting hall exuded an aura of wisdom and power, with ancient tapestries adorning the walls, depicting the history of the immortals. The room was illuminated by mystical orbs of light, casting an ethereal glow over the place. Little did the immortals know that they were being closely observed by the Dark Lord's tiny spiders, magical creatures created by Michael to gather information discreetly. The first immortal was an elderly man with a long white beard that reached his chest. He wore an intricately embroidered robe with silver patterns, and his eyes shimmered with ancient knowledge. Next to him stood a stern-looking woman, her face etched with the wisdom of centuries. Her silver hair cascaded down her back, and she exuded an aura of power and authority. The third immortal was a man of regal bearing, adorned in royal purple robes with golden accents. His long gray hair was neatly tied back, and his sharp eyes were focused and calculating. Opposite him was another woman, her face lined with age and experience. Her dark eyes were sharp and observant, and she wore simple yet elegant robes of deep green, signifying her deep connection to nature. The fifth immortal was a man of quiet intensity, his eyes deep and soulful. His ash-gray hair fell to his shoulders, and he wore robes of deep blue, representing his affinity with the heavens. All 5 immortals looked serious and engrossed in their discussion, unaware of the tiny spiders discreetly observing their every move. Little did they know that the Dark Lord himself, disguised and undetectable, was about to make his move. As the immortals continued their discussion, their voices filled the meeting hall with a sense of urgency and concern. The first immortal, named Elder Arion, spoke with a deep frown. "I have never seen such an anomaly before. These immortals are unconscious, and their life forces are slowly withering away." The stern-looking woman, High Priestess Era, nodded in agreement. "Indeed, the crystal seems to be corrupting their souls more than we initially calculated. We must act swiftly to save them." The regal immortal, Lord Roderick, chimed in. "Perhaps we should inform the Sky Hall and seek help from our elders. This is beyond our expertise." The female immortal with a connection to nature, Lady Sylvana, added, "Yes, their condition is deteriorating rapidly, and our efforts to purify the crystal are not enough." While the immortals debated their next course of action, Michael watched the scene unfold in the mirror held in his hand, floating above the manor. He sighed, realizing that the Queen's crystal containing her piece of soul had indeed started to corrupt the immortals. He knew they were clueless about the true nature of the crystal. The tiny spiders continued to record the conversation, allowing Michael to gather valuable information. He knew that he had to act carefully and secretly to retrieve the crystal without arousing suspicion. As the immortals continued their heated discussion, Lady Sylvana stood her ground, her emerald eyes filled with determination. "We cannot afford to keep the crystal any longer. Its corrupting influence will bring disaster upon us," she urged. However, Lord Roderick, with a gleam of ambition in his eyes, countered, "You fail to see its potential. The crystal contains the power to elevate us all to the half-celestial stage. With such power, we could reshape the world." High Priestess Era added, "We have spent centuries searching for a way to reach the half-celestial stage, and now it lies before us. We cannot let this opportunity slip away." Sylvana remained resolute. "There are other paths to the half-celestial stage that do not involve such a tainted crystal. The Dark Lord himself managed to achieve that stage without the use of this corrupted artifact. If he could do it, so can we." Lord Roderick shook his head. "You forget, we are not the Dark Lord. He is the God of darkness, and his powers are far beyond our comprehension." Undeterred, Sylvana pressed on, "If we do not abandon the crystal, we will suffer the same fate as the Dark Lord in the end, regardless of whether we reach the half-celestial stage or not. Its corrupting influence will consume us all." The other immortals fell silent, considering Sylvana's words. The weight of their decision hung heavily in the air as they pondered the consequences of their actions. The allure of immense power was tempting, but the risk of succumbing to darkness loomed ominously. Unbeknownst to the immortals, the Dark Lord, Michael, remained concealed and observed their every move. The immortals discussed their plan to seek the Sky Hall's help, unaware that Michael's tiny spiders were capturing their conversation. "I believe it's wise to inform the Sky Hall and seek their counsel," suggested Lord Roderick. The other immortals nodded in agreement, convinced that involving the elders of the Sky Hall was the best course of action. Yet, as they reached their decision, an unsettling shift filled the air. The light orbs in the hall flickered and sputtered, casting eerie shadows across the room. The immortals exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of the cause of this strange phenomenon. A peculiar scent lingered in the air, making them uneasy. Sensing something amiss, immortal Sylvana reached out with her instincts and detected an unusual presence in their blood. A surge of fear washed over the immortals as they realized that they had been tainted by an unknown substance. Before they could react, the fear toxin that Michael had unleashed into the hall took hold of their bodies. Panic and dread surged through their veins, leaving them paralyzed with terror. In the midst of the chaos, the lights in the hall suddenly extinguished, enveloping them in complete darkness. The immortals' hearts pounded loudly in their chests as they struggled to see in the pitch-black surroundings. In the shrouded darkness, the immortals huddled together, their whispers filled with confusion and fear. One of them murmured, "This darkness. It's not ordinary. It feels malevolent." Another immortal, still trying to process the situation, hesitantly questioned, "Could this be the Dark Lord's doing?" Dismissing the doubt, one of the more seasoned immortals scoffed, "Nonsense. The Dark Lord met his end at the hands of Noah. Their attempts to conjure light by casting spells proved futile, as an inexplicable gust of wind continuously extinguished their feeble can't be him. Their attempts to conjure light by casting spells proved futile, as an inexplicable gust of wind continuously extinguished their feeble flames. Suddenly, a haunting rhyme echoed in the hall, the words sending a chill down their spines. "Diddle. Diddle. Your lives are so little." The immortals exchanged alarmed glances, their hearts pounding with dread. They felt a sinister presence lurking in the darkness, taunting and toying with them. It was as though an invisible force was mocking their power and control. Fear gripped their souls as they struggled to maintain their composure. Each of them tried to suppress their growing panic, but the relentless darkness and the haunting rhyme played tricks on their minds. In their desperation, one of the immortals attempted to summon divine light, but the darkness seemed to devour even the brightest illumination. The more they tried to dispel it, the thicker it seemed to grow, as if the very shadows had come alive and encircled them. In the suffocating thickness of the darkness, the immortals were blinded, unable to see anything around them. They shouted out into the void, their voices trembling with fear, demanding to know who was behind this sinister manifestation. To their horror, a menacing devilish voice echoed back, chilling them to the bone. "You know the answer to your question," it hissed, sending shivers down their spines. One of the immortals, his voice quivering, mumbled, "Dark Lord." As the fear toxin continued to grip their hearts, the immortals became more and more petrified. The toxin amplified their fears, making the darkness even more terrifying, and the haunting voice that answered them felt like an embodiment of their deepest nightmares. In the midst of their terror, the Dark Lord's voice returned, cutting through the blackness with an eerie calmness. "Tell me," he demanded, "where did you put the crystal?" Their minds reeling, the immortals felt shocked beyond belief. They had witnessed the Dark Lord's supposed death at the hands of Noah, and now he stood before them, alive and with them, in the very hall where they had convened to discuss their concerns. The immensity of the revelation was too much for them to comprehend. Their immortal composure shattered, and they were reduced to mere mortals, shaken to their cores by the return of the Dark Lord. They could hardly believe their eyes and ears, and the fear toxin made them question the very fabric of reality. Was this an illusion, or had the Dark Lord truly come back from the dead? In the pitch-black darkness, the immortals stood paralyzed, not knowing how to respond to the unexpected and chilling presence of the Dark Lord. As Michael interrogated the immortals, a powerful aura suddenly appeared on his environmental scanning. Reacting swiftly to the change in the situation, Michael tapped into his innate power, connecting with the darkness within each immortal. In response, the immortals felt an intense pain in their chests, coughing and collapsing to the ground. With his dark swords unsheathed, Michael sprang into action, moving with deadly precision. In the pitch-black darkness of the hall, the only sounds that echoed were the chilling growls of the immortals. Michael swiftly ended their lives, cleaving their heads in a few blinks of an eye. Originally, he had planned to extract information about the crystal before eliminating them, but the unexpected appearance of another powerful being left him with no choice but to swiftly kill the immortals. Leaving no witnesses who had realized the Dark Lord was still alive became an imperative for Michael, even at the cost of ending their lives without mercy. After swiftly dispatching the immortals, Michael dispelled the darkness in the hall and moved to a corner where shadows lingered. Embracing his role as the god of darkness, he melded with the darkness, becoming one with it. With perfect harmony, he blended into the shadows, waiting for the powerful being detected in his environmental scanning to reveal itself before him. Chapter 1049 The overwhelming power of the Dark Lord. As Michael concealed himself in the darkness, a figure descended from the rooftop and landed beside the round table where the immortals once sat. It was none other than Evan. Shock was evident in his eyes as he saw the beheaded bodies of the immortals, and fear crept into his expression. What happened here? Evan's voice trembled as he took in the horrifying scene. Michael couldn't help but smirk at Evan's reaction, noting the unstable energy radiating around him like a ticking time bomb. The last time they clashed, Michael had been at Godhood level 1 and had to resort to using Victoria, Evan's fiancée, as a hostage to gain the upper hand. However, this time, Michael was at the celestial stage with Godhood level 2, making him more powerful than Evan. Despite them both being at Godhood level 2, Michael's strength surpassed Evan's several times over. As Evan carefully inspected the lifeless bodies, he couldn't find any signs of struggle or evidence of the perpetrator. Unbeknownst to him, Michael remained hidden in the dark corner, a calculating smile playing on his lips. Meanwhile, Michael retrieved several powerful runic parchments from his storage, each designed by Eladir and acquired through the system store at the cost of 5 million badass points. With precision, he placed the parchments on the nearby wall, watching as the runes came to life, vibrating before melding into the stone. As the room remained shrouded in an eerie silence, Michael's neck cracked audibly as he prepared for his encounter with Evan once more. The sound echoed through the chamber, catching Evan's attention. His heart pounded in his chest, and his eyes widened in shock and fear when he saw the figure emerge from the darkness. The air around them felt charged with tension as Michael and Evan locked eyes. Evan couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Dark Lord, who he thought was dead, now stood before him, alive and more powerful than ever. Fear and disbelief washed over Evan as he faced the formidable enemy who he thought died. Terror gripped Evan's heart as he stammered, "Ghost." "I go by the name Dark Lord now," Michael replied calmly, his voice sending chills down Evan's spine. With each step Michael took forward, Evan stumbled back, his fear intensifying. The combination of the fear toxin in the air and the shock of seeing the Dark Lord alive made Evan tremble uncontrollably. "You are dead." "No," Evan mumbled in disbelief. He vividly remembered witnessing Noah strike the Dark Lord with the god-killing arrows, leading to a fiery explosion. Unbeknownst to Evan, the 2 god-killing arrows Olivia gave to Noah during the final moments of the war were actually fakes. In a clever twist, Olivia had entrusted the real god-killing arrows to Michael. So when Noah struck Michael with the 5 original god-killing arrows and the 2 fakes, the genuine arrows remained inert. It was all part of Michael's elaborate plan to fake his death with a spectacular explosion and secure all the authentic god-killing arrows for himself. "I am indeed dead. I am just your deepest fear," Michael taunted, toying with Evan's emotions. For a moment, Evan felt convinced that the Dark Lord standing before him was a manifestation of his worst nightmares. "No!" Suddenly, Evan shook his head vigorously, as if trying to break free from the grip of fear. Summoning his courage, he lunged at Michael, aiming a desperate punch at his face. But just as his fist approached Michael, it was caught mid-air by the Dark Lord, who wore an unsettling smile. "I am indeed dead. I am just your deepest fear," Michael taunted, playing with Evan's emotions. For a brief moment, Evan's mind succumbed to the idea that the Dark Lord was nothing more than a manifestation of his worst nightmares. "No!" Suddenly, Evan shook his head vigorously, as if trying to shake off the fear that had consumed him. Summoning every ounce of his courage, he lunged at Michael and threw a furious punch towards his face. But before the blow could land, Michael effortlessly caught Evan's fist, flashing a twisted smile. "Evan, did you miss me?" Michael's chilling words echoed in Evan's mind, reminding him of the horrific scene where the Dark Queen had forced Victoria to drink the blood tonic against her will. Although Michael had no intention of fighting Evan seriously, he couldn't resist testing his newfound powers, using Evan as a mere practice dummy to display his strength. "You cannot be alive. I saw you explode into bloody mist," Evan growled, still struggling to accept that the Dark Lord stood before him, very much alive. "Don't believe everything you see and hear, Evan," Michael retorted. With a swift and powerful punch, he struck Evan right in the chest, sending him hurtling through the air until he collided with the wall. The fear toxin coursing through Evan's veins slowly began to lose its grip as anger and the pain of losing Victoria overwhelmed him. 2 weeks after the Dark Lord's supposed defeat, Victoria had traveled to meet her family on the R continent after her encounter with Celici. Tragedy had struck as she was ambushed and slain by a bone dragon. Since then, Evan had been relentlessly tracking down the bone dragon's origins, leading him to the Immortal Council's headquarters atop Mount Galleon. The connection between Victoria's death and the council heightened Evan's fury and determination. "What do you think?" Michael sneered, his taunting words further provoking Evan's anger. Unbeknownst to Evan, the tragic death of Victoria was not the doing of the Dark Queen or the Dark Lord, but rather a manipulative scheme orchestrated by Saelsis' death squad. Read Chapter 1024. When Celici saw the devastation in Victoria's house following the Dark Queen's visit, she cunningly devised a plan to exploit Evan's emotions. Believing that the Dark Queen had harmed Victoria and would use her life as leverage, Celici ordered her death squad member, Stormwing, to stage Victoria's death as an accident. As per Saelsis' orders, Stormwing led the Bone Dragon, which had previously escaped from the Immortal Council, to Victoria's location, orchestrating the fatal encounter. When Evan arrived, all he found was a pool of blood and the heartbreaking sight of Victoria's severed wrist, spared by the jaws of the vicious creature. Consumed by overwhelming grief and seething with fury, Evan's heart was now consumed by the pursuit of vengeance. In his anguish, he became a relentless hunter, relentlessly tracking the Bone Dragon with a determination bordering on madness. As Michael snickered arrogantly, Evan's grief and anger reached its breaking point, firmly convinced that the Dark Lord was responsible for Victoria's tragic death. Blinded by his emotions, he didn't even consider the possibility that someone else might be behind the horrifying act. Fate, it seemed, had brought Evan face to face with the one he believed had taken everything from him. Bastard! Evan's anguished scream tore through the air as he lunged at Michael once more. His fists flew like a wild storm, driven by the madness of loss and despair. But Michael was no ordinary opponent. He deftly evaded every punch and kick with ease, his movements fluid and precise. With the help of the powerful runes, the mountain concealed their battle from prying eyes, forming an illusion that shielded them from the outside world. But even within the illusion, Evan's fury and desperation were palpable. As Evan's relentless assault continued, Michael sensed that his opponent had yet to unleash his true power. Tauntingly, Michael questioned Evan's choice of fists over spells and godly abilities. "Is this how you fight a man who killed your love?" Michael sneered, blocking Evan's punch effortlessly and retaliating with a deadly black bolt of lightning. The powerful surge of energy sent Evan hurtling through the air once again, a painful reminder of the one-sided nature of their battle. As Evan's desperation escalated, he channeled all his power into a grand display of spells. The air crackled with energy as he unleashed overwhelming forces, causing the hall to tremble and the very ground beneath them to quake. First, Evan conjured a tempest of swirling winds that tore through the hall, shattering the marble walls and tossing debris into the air like deadly projectiles. The winds howled with fury, threatening to consume everything in their path. Next, he summoned celestial flames that burned with an intensity beyond imagination. The flames danced and twirled, creating a fiery inferno that threatened to consume the entire space. But as Evan's onslaught continued, Michael calmly raised his hand and an energy shield dome formed around him. The responsive shield, a testament to his newfound power as a level 2 god, grew in size and strength. The shield expanded, encompassing the entire hall, and its luminescent glow intensified, emanating an aura of invincibility. The clash of their powers was a spectacle to behold. Evan's spells collided with the resilient energy dome, but they failed to penetrate its formidable defense. The swirling winds and raging flames struck the dome, only to be dispersed harmlessly around Michael. With each failed attempt, Evan's frustration grew, and he unleashed even more potent spells. He tried to bring down the energy dome with bolts of celestial lightning and torrents of freezing ice, but nothing could breach the shield's impenetrable barrier. Meanwhile, Michael remained composed, his eyes cold and calculating as he analyzed Evan's every move. His dark armor glimmered, absorbing the impact of Evan's attacks effortlessly. As the battle raged on, it became apparent that Evan's rage had clouded his judgment. Michael's mastery of darkness and his strategic use of the responsive shield gave him an undeniable advantage. With each futile attempt, Evan's confidence waned, and the reality of facing a truly living Dark Lord began to sink in. The power of Michael's responsive shield astonished even him. As Evan's relentless spells crashed against the shield, it absorbed nearly 90% of their destructive force, leaving Michael unharmed behind his dark armor. The hall became coated in a layer of frost from Evan's icy spells, but it seemed to have little effect on the Dark Lord. The runes Michael had placed earlier concealed the battle from outside detection, ensuring that no one would interfere or sense the immense clash between the two gods. Evan, infused with powers beyond his own, tried desperately to match Michael's might, but it was clear that he was nowhere close to being a true god like Michael. In this confrontation, Michael realized that only the true gods from the realm of gods could stand a chance against him and pose a real challenge, especially those who were at or above the level 3 godhood. Evan's power, gained by grace that was not his own, proved inadequate against the might of the Dark Lord. As the battle continued, Michael's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Evan's growing frustration and desperation. Each strike from Evan's spells was effortlessly countered by the responsive shield, leaving Evan feeling powerless in the face of such overwhelming darkness. "My turn." With a sinister smirk, Michael's hands crackled with power as he raised them, preparing to unleash his own devastating spells. From his palms, sharp wind blades surged forth, slicing through the air with deadly precision. Accompanying the wind blades, bolts of dark lightning erupted, crackling and searing through the atmosphere. But that was not all. The very air above Evan seemed to obey Michael's command, as more lightning bolts materialized from thin air, raining down with electrifying force. As if the spectacle wasn't enough, a ring of dark flames erupted from Michael's body, encircling him in a blazing inferno. The flames were no ordinary fire. They were infused with dark flames, consuming everything in their path with unrelenting fury. The force of the spells was overwhelming, creating an awe-inspiring display: the deadly onslaught of wind blades, lightning bolts and infernal flames. Desperation and fear etched across his face, but there was a raw power that left the entire hall trembling. Evan's eyes widened in horror as he found himself surrounded by the deadly onslaught of wind blades, lightning bolts and infernal flames. Desperation and fear etched across his face, but there was nowhere to run. He was trapped within the swirling tempest of Michael's wrath. The wind blades tore through anything they touched, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The dark lightning bolts crackled with energy, striking Evan from all directions, filling the air with blinding flashes of light. Meanwhile, the ring of dark flames incinerated everything in its path, leaving nothing but ashes in its wake. The hall that was once a symbol of power and authority now lay in ruins, torn asunder by the force of Michael's spells. The walls crumbled, and the elegant decorations were reduced to mere debris. The once grand and dignified space was now a scene of chaos and devastation, a testament to the unmatched power of the Dark Lord. As the dust settled and the echoes of the spells faded away, Evan lay defeated amidst the ruins of the hall. His body was battered and broken, and his spirit was crushed by the overwhelming might of the Dark Lord. Michael stood tall amidst the destruction, his dark armor glistening with power, a silent but formidable force that had left Evan utterly powerless. Chapter 1050. Outsmarting Cilici in every way. Several days before the battle between Evan and Michael, the journey from our continent to Elon was incredibly vast, spanning a great distance that took many cultivators several days to traverse. Most preferred to use teleportation portals to shorten the trip, but Victoria instead decided to embark on a long flight lasting several days. She wanted to enjoy the breathtaking sights along the way before eventually arriving at Xianxia's safe house in the Cassidian forest. From there, she planned to use a teleportation portal to reach her final destination. As evening descended, the sky transformed into a magnificent canvas adorned with twinkling stars, shining brightly like precious jewels. 3 large luminous blue moons hung gracefully in the sky, casting a gentle glow over the world below. Victoria soared through the air as she flew above a vast and majestic canyon. The walls of the canyon were towering and rugged, displaying a breathtaking blend of red and orange hues as the setting sun painted them with its warm rays. Moving swiftly, Victoria left the canyon behind and approached the emerald-green Cassidian forest. The forest welcomed her with open arms, its giant trees stretching high into the sky. The canopy above was a kaleidoscope of lush foliage, forming a natural roof that filtered the soft sunlight and created a soothing dappled effect on the forest floor. The spacious ground between the trees was a haven of vibrant life. Soft, green grass carpeted the forest floor, adorned with colorful wildflowers that added a touch of beauty to the landscape. The air was filled with the sweet scent of nature, and the forest seemed to sing with the harmony of chirping birds and gentle rustling leaves. It was a place of peace and serenity where Victoria could find solace and comfort amidst the wonders of nature. Unbeknownst to Victoria, she was being closely trailed by 2 individuals. One of them was a mysterious figure shrouded in black robes, with the upper body of an eagle, revealing him to be a beastman. This enigmatic figure was none other than Stormwing, a deadly member of Xianxia's death squad. Stormwing had been tasked by Xianxia with a sinister mission, to assassinate Victoria and make it appear as if her death was a mere accident. To accomplish his dark purpose, Stormwing carried a pouch filled with a potent alchemical substance, a grey powder specifically used to lure a bone dragon. The very same bone dragon that had seemingly escaped the Immortal Council's control. Meanwhile, unknown to both Stormwing and Victoria, a silent and watchful presence trailed them from the shadows. It was Michael, who had been tracking their movements with great caution. Michael was well aware of Xianxia's intentions, and he had anticipated her every move. When he had asked Gaia to leave Victoria's home, he knew it would lead Xianxia to make a dangerous assumption, that the Dark Lord would use Victoria's life to manipulate Evan. Michael's keen insights and meticulous planning had successfully lured Xianxia into his trap. Now, as he followed Victoria and Stormwing, he waited for the perfect moment to intervene and thwart Xianxia's wicked plot. From the vantage point of a massive tree, Michael observed Victoria setting up her camp for the night. He remained silent and concealed, hidden within the dense foliage of the tree. As he watched her, Victoria's words drifted up to him. She expressed relief that the Dark Lord's reign of terror was finally over. "I never felt like this in months. Glad everything is over with the Dark Lord," Victoria murmured softly to herself. She swiftly prepared her camp, changing into more comfortable clothes. Respectful of her privacy, Michael looked away, refusing to invade her personal space. With her camp arranged, Victoria conjured a gentle spell to ignite a warm campfire. Seating herself before the crackling flames, she placed her long sword by her side and closed her eyes, entering a state of peaceful cultivation. Unbeknownst to her, Stormwing was silently descending from the skies, landing on a distant branch, unaware that every movement he made was being meticulously observed by the Dark Lord. As Stormwing approached, he carried a handful of bone dragon bait, a potent substance used to attract the deadly creature. With a subtle movement, Stormwing released the grey powder into the air, allowing it to disperse around Victoria's camp. The bait had no discernible scent, ensuring that Victoria remained unaware of the impending danger that lurked in the air. "My job here is done," with a sly grin concealed beneath his hood, Stormwing believed his task was complete. He swiftly departed from the forest, cautious not to be caught between the bone dragon and Victoria. Fully aware of Victoria's limited cultivation at the core strengthening stage, Stormwing knew she would be defenseless against a formidable fusion stage bone dragon. From his hidden perch, Michael kept a keen eye on Stormwing's every move, his mind racing with calculations and strategies. Moments after Stormwing's departure, a distant rumble echoed through the forest, catching Michael's attention. He knew that such a sound was impossible, for the sky above was clear and devoid of any storm clouds. Recognizing the peculiar noise as the bone dragon's thunderous wings, Michael understood that the powerful and deranged creature was heading straight for Victoria's location. Unaware of the imminent danger, Victoria continued her peaceful cultivation on the ground. The tranquility around her soon gave way to an eerie darkness as the colossal creature approached, its monstrous form casting an ominous shadow on the forest floor. The trees quivered violently in response to the bone dragon's immense power. Suddenly, Victoria's eyes snapped open, a surge of instinctive alertness coursing through her. She sensed a formidable presence nearby, a feeling of danger that sent shivers down her spine. However, she was unable to detect Michael, the Dark Lord, as he skillfully concealed himself within the darkness, a master of blending in and remaining hidden. As the bone dragon drew nearer, the ground trembled under its immense weight, and the air seemed to grow colder, carrying the scent of danger that Victoria couldn't ignore. Little did she know that this creature had been driven to madness after being imprisoned for decades, and it was now on a destructive path, seeking to unleash its fury upon any living being it encountered. Michael silently observed the scene as the bone dragon descended through the thick canopy, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake, much like a raging storm. Its skeletal form, devoid of flesh, gave it an eerie and sinister appearance. With its crimson-red eyes emanating a palpable killing intent, the dragon's immense size instilled fear in Victoria's heart. The bone dragon's eyes locked onto Victoria, a live and breathing human, and its roars echoed through the forest, shaking the very ground beneath them. The dragon's hatred for humans, stemming from its long captivity, fueled its aggression upon seeing Victoria. It lunged at her with a ferocious snap, aiming to devour her in a single gulp. Victoria's instincts kicked in, and she swiftly evaded the bone dragon's massive jaw, narrowly escaping its deadly bite. Panic surged within her as she realized her sword was left behind at the now extinguished campfire. With each step the dragon took, the forest around them crumbled, uprooting trees like mere twigs. Desperate to defend herself, Victoria tried to cast spells, but before she could muster enough energy, the bone dragon's bone claws struck her with devastating force. She was sent hurtling through the shattered trees, leaving her body battered and bleeding. In agony, Victoria coughed up blood, her dress torn and covered in mud. Her leg and arms broken from a single strike, Victoria reached for her space ring that had fallen off her finger during the fall. Crawling backward, she sought her only hope of survival, a teleportation scroll within the space ring. However, the bone dragon was relentless, closing in with each thunderous step. Fighting back tears, Victoria clutched a broken branch with her good hand, trying to stand despite her injuries. "I am sorry, Evan." In the midst of pain and despair, she whispered an apology to Evan, reflecting on the cruel twists of fate that had led her to this dire moment. "Come on, you ugly son of a bitch!" Victoria roared in defiance, refusing to yield without a fight. Though facing a seemingly insurmountable foe, she refused to give up her will to survive. The bone dragon sensed Victoria's fear and reveled in her suffering, enjoying the taste of vengeance against humans. As it advanced towards her, she clenched her fists, ready to face her doom with courage, despite knowing she stood no chance against the colossal beast. Just as the dragon's jaws were about to close around her, a sudden figure appeared, landing boldly between Victoria and the monstrous creature. It was Michael, the Dark Lord himself. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaotic situation. "Ever heard of mouthwash?" Michael taunted the dragon before delivering a powerful punch that sent the creature tumbling to the ground. Victoria's eyes widened in shock and terror, unable to comprehend the sight before her. She had believed the Dark Lord to be dead, but here he stood, very much alive and powerful as ever. "Let me take care of this bug," Michael declared with a confident smile, assuring Victoria that he had everything under control. Before she could react, he raised his hand, releasing a knockout potion that quickly overwhelmed her senses. Victoria collapsed to the ground, her fears and worries momentarily subdued by the potion's effects. After gently knocking out Victoria to ensure she remained safe, Michael turned his attention to the suffering bone dragon. He could sense the deep scars of torture etched into its very being, which ignited a spark of empathy within him. Determined to end the dragon's torment, Michael chose to end its life swiftly and mercifully. With a solemn expression, Michael leaped onto the dragon's bone head, looking into its crimson eyes filled with hatred and pain. He understood the dragon's history of suffering at the hands of each side of the dragon's face. In an instant, a connection formed between them, and they locked eyes. Michael's immense power humans, and he didn't wish to cause it any more pain than it had already endured. Summoning the Soul Eater skill, Michael placed his hands gently on each side of the dragon's face. In an instant, a connection formed between them, and they locked eyes. Michael's immense power overwhelmed the dragon's feeble resistance, allowing him to absorb its soul without inflicting further harm. As the process unfolded, a faint white wisp of smoke emerged from the depths of the dragon's eyes, gracefully coiling into Michael. It was a poignant moment, witnessing the dragon's pain slowly dissipate, and its soul finding peace in the embrace of the Dark Lord's power. Michael's expression softened, as he knew he had granted the creature a final release from its suffering. "Now it's time to turn Evan against Salisi," Michael said with a sinister smile, his mind already plotting the perfect revenge. Little did Salisi know that Michael had outsmarted her, recording the conversation she had with Stormwing about assassinating Victoria. Despite Sailsys' protective artifact, Michael ingeniously devised a long-range camera using arch-energy crystals and Elidar's runes to bypass her defenses. The camera captured every damning word, and Michael stored the evidence in a recording crystal, a commonplace item in this world. With Victoria now safe from the assassination attempt, Michael held the key to exposing Sailsys' deceitful scheme. He felt a sense of triumph, knowing that with this recording, he could easily turn Evan against Salisi and make her pay for her crossing paths with him. The thought of watching Sailsys' downfall brought a wicked glint to Michael's eyes as he reveled in his cleverness. Chapter 1051 Turning Evan against Salisi. Inside the cozy wooden cabin nestled deep within the forest, Michael stood before Evan and Victoria. They were seated in chairs facing a large mirror that Michael had conjured for this moment. He wanted to reveal Sailsys' treachery to the couple and make them understand the truth. With a determined look in his eyes, Michael took a step forward and raised his hand, gently spraying a potion onto their faces. As the potion touched their skin, Evan and Victoria's eyelids fluttered, and they slowly regained consciousness. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves in a dimly lit cabin, the sound of heavy rain echoing outside. Their memories of the events before losing consciousness flooded back, but they didn't focus on each other just yet. Their attention was fixed on the enigmatic figure before them, the Dark Lord himself. A mix of fear and curiosity washed over them, but Michael's soothing words and a calming potion diffused their initial anxiety. "Turn your heads to the side," Michael calmly instructed. Evan complied first, turning his head to the side, and what he saw sent shivers down his spine. There, gazing at him with tears streaming down her cheeks, was Victoria. It had been several long days since they had seen each other, but for Victoria, it felt like only a few moments had passed since her encounter with the bone dragon. Unbeknownst to her, Michael had kept her unconscious while Evan sought his revenge on the dragon that had taken her life. The emotions in that moment were overwhelming, a mix of relief, love, and sorrow. To Evan's utter shock, Victoria was alive and well. Overwhelmed with joy and disbelief, he lunged at her, accidentally tripping over the chair she was sitting on. Ignoring their surroundings, the couple embraced tightly, tears of relief and happiness streaming down their cheeks. Michael watched the emotional reunion from the sidelines, allowing them the moment they deserved. "I thought you were dead," Evan said, holding Victoria as if he would never let her go. "Evan," Victoria choked out through her tears, her heart overflowing with emotions. "The dragon. How did you?" "I saw your wrist." Evan's words trembled with a memory of the horrifying scene he had witnessed. He vividly recalled finding a wrist with the engagement ring covered in blood in the forest. Unbeknownst to him, Michael had orchestrated the ruse by placing the ring on a severed undead wrist and leaving it at the scene. Suddenly, Evan released Victoria from his embrace and examined her arms, only to find no engagement ring on her finger. Victoria, too, was baffled by its absence, as she had no memory of losing the ring. Unbeknownst to them, it was Michael who had removed the ring after knocking her out. It was only then that they both turned their attention to the Dark Lord, who had been silently observing them. "Are you finished reuniting and ready to learn who sent a dragon after Victoria?" Michael asked Evan and Victoria, his calm demeanor contrasting with the whirlwind of emotions surrounding them. "How are you still alive?" Evan asked in complete shock, unable to fathom how the Dark Lord stood before them unscathed. Victoria was equally speechless, her mind struggling to process the impossible reality. Although Michael had concealed his true power, both Evan and Victoria could sense that he had reached a realm beyond any mortal's capabilities. "You must have called the dragon and pretended to save me," Victoria finally spoke, her voice tinged with suspicion and disbelief. "Can you, for once, use your brain?" Michael rolled his eyes, a hint of annoyance in his tone. With a wave of his hand, Evan and Victoria's bodies jerked involuntarily, their fear growing. As Michael waved his hand, the mirror behind him flickered to life, revealing a scene. Evan and Victoria saw Xianxia, accompanied by a figure dressed in black robes, hovering in the wind. The scene slowly moved to a grand manor with soldiers lying unconscious on the surrounding grounds. To Victoria's surprise, she immediately recognized the manor as her own and furrowed her brow in confusion and concern. "Evan has been compromised," Xianxia's voice echoed through the scene in the mirror, and Evan listened intently, his heart racing. "My lady, how would you like me to handle Evan?" "It poses a challenge since you have elevated him to the status of a god," responded the cloaked figure floating beside Xianxia, who Evan now recognized as Stormwing. "You are mistaken, Stormwing. The god-killing arrows, even if retrieved by Noah, can only slay either him or the Dark Lord. They are single-use weapons, unable to be replicated or merged into a new form. Once the Dark Lord perishes, the arrows themselves will cease to exist," Xianxia explained, her voice calculated and composed. "Then how do you propose we handle Evan, my lady?" "The longer we allow Evan to roam freely, the greater the potential damage he can inflict upon our entire operation," Stormwing inquired, concern lacing his voice. "If Evan has indeed struck a deal with the Dark Lord, his actions will undoubtedly revolve around the life of Victoria. The Dark Lord will undoubtedly use Victoria as a pawn to manipulate Evan into carrying out his bidding. However, if we eliminate this pawn, Victoria, the Dark Lord's hold over Evan will crumble. Evan is a valuable asset that we cannot afford to let slip away," Xianxia explained, her tone firm and resolute. Evan's and Victoria's minds went blank with shock and confusion as they listened to Xianxia's ruthless plan. Michael couldn't help but grin, seeing the emotions play across their faces. Celici intended to turn Evan into a weapon against the Dark Lord, but little did she know that Michael was now turning Evan against her. Eliminate Victoria. Stormwing. Make it appear as though her death is accidental. If the Dark Lord truly struck a deal with Evan, we cannot orchestrate her demise to make it seem like the Dark Lord was responsible. It would raise suspicions, and Evan might grow wary. However, if her death appears to be an unfortunate accident, the Dark Lord will lose his hold over Evan. This will enable Evan to focus his energies on defeating the Dark Lord's army, without the distraction of his fiancée. I can channel his grief and anger towards our advantage. Xianxia's cold and calculating voice echoed through the cabin. The pain of betrayal slowly dug deeper into Evan's heart as he clenched his fist. He had served and believed in Celici, thinking she was a strong and benevolent leader, only to be proven wrong. The revelation showed Evan that Celici was not the leader he thought she was but a vengeful snake. Is that so? Michael snickered, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the image of Stormwing. For a brief moment Stormwing's cloak. No, this must be trickery. Victoria shouted in disbelief, unable to accept the shocking truth. Is that so? Michael snickered, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the image of Stormwing. For a brief moment, Stormwing's cloak moved, revealing a glimpse of his upper body, and Michael's instincts picked up on a crucial detail. With another wave of his hand, Michael changed the scene in the mirror once again. This time, he showed Stormwing standing atop a tree branch, pouring a gray powder into the air. As the scene unfolded, Victoria's memories came rushing back. She recalled the events of the campsite, the peaceful cultivation, and the sudden ambush by the bone dragon. What he scattered in the wind is a powerful substance that lured the bone dragon to your place, Michael explained calmly. Lady Celici. She cannot. Victoria's voice trailed off, unable to comprehend the depth of Xianxia's betrayal. Michael understood her confusion, knowing how skilled Celici was at manipulation. Blaming the Dark Lord and painting him as the villain was a tactic that easily deceived people, even those like Victoria who believed in her cause. As silence enveloped them, Michael allowed Victoria and Evan to process the shocking revelation. I have seen him. Evan finally broke the silence. I saw him once, he continued, recalling a day when he entered Xianxia's meeting hall and saw a figure leaving through a window. Although Celici dismissed it as one of her spies, Evan had caught a glimpse of an eagle-faced man, just like the one the Dark Lord had shown them. You and the whole world believed I was evil. You said I am evil when I destroyed Wuxia. You said I'm evil when I fought Nagaland. But you never bothered to ask why. Michael's voice was cold and powerful, sending shivers down Evan and Victoria's spines. They were left speechless, unable to trust anyone anymore, as the truth of Xianxia's betrayal sank in. Evan's mind replayed Xianxia's words about fighting the Dark Lord's minions and making Victoria proud, only now realizing it was all a manipulative ploy. Think about this, she could have called off the assassination because the whole world saw me dying, including Celici. Yet, she proceeded with a hit, just to manipulate and use you, Michael revealed, exposing Xianxia's deceit. But there was more shocking news to come. Michael revealed that the powers Celici had given Evan were killing him. Evan wasn't born as a god, yet Celici had somehow infused his body with a grace that was now rejecting him. The grave is rejecting you. It's only a matter of time before your soul explodes into nothingness, Michael stated, leaving Victoria in panic and her heart aching for Evan's fate. Evan was stunned, unable to dismiss the acute pain and energy radiation surrounding him. The reality of his body rejecting the grace Celici had given him was hard to ignore. He knew the Dark Lord wasn't lying to him. His words resonated with Evan's own experiences. If you don't believe me, you are welcome to leave this place. But when you explode, you will take out everyone around you, Michael warned Evan. Victoria, on the other hand, was hesitant to trust Michael completely. She questioned his intentions, fearing that he might be manipulating them for his own gains. So how do we know we can trust anything you say? What if you are just manipulating us? Victoria questioned. He is not, Evan answered Victoria. I feel something wrong with me. I asked Celici, but she said it was nothing. But I can feel the grace is rejecting my body, when Evan explained. Victoria instinctively grabbed Evan's hand and shivered at the thought of losing him. Whether you choose to believe me or not, I am the only one who can save you and reveal the truth of what's really happening. I am not your enemy, Evan. In fact, neither you nor the world truly understands the impending terror that awaits us, Michael asserted. His voice was filled with conviction, and he looked directly into Evan's eyes, trying to convey the urgency of the situation. Chapter 1052. Evan is now Michael's ally. As the life-changing truth sank in, Evan and Victoria's expressions shifted from disbelief to contemplation. Victoria's animosity towards the Dark Lord began to wane after learning about Xianxia's betrayal, and she found herself torn between trust and skepticism. Feeling lost and uncertain, they both turned to Michael for more answers. Before blindly trusting anyone, always seek the full truth and know both sides of the story, Michael advised them, his tone earnest. Intrigued, Evan finally mustered the courage to ask the Dark Lord about his own story. He wanted to understand the motivations behind the infamous figure known as the Dark Lord. The whole perception of the Dark Lord being evil began with a prophecy by Xianxia, one of the Mazeroth founders. That prophecy set off a chain of events that led us to this moment. However, Xianxia or the Sky Hall never revealed the true intentions of the realm of gods, Michael explained. And what are their intentions? Victoria inquired. To make mortals their unquestioning worshippers. They seek absolute control and will eliminate any resistance to achieve that goal. Essentially, they desire to enslave humanity, Michael replied. Slavery. Evan muttered, trying to process the shocking revelation. Yes, exactly. 5,000 years ago, I erected a barrier between the mortal realm and the realm of gods to prevent the entire world from falling under their control, Michael revealed, leaving Evan and Victoria stunned. Victoria's astonishment was evident as she processed the information. 5,000 years old? That's impossible. Michael chuckled. Not exactly. The one who created the barrier was me, but that was before I reset the entire universe. I know it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. Evan and Victoria exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to wrap their minds around the revelation. Michael's frustration was palpable as he expressed his irritation with their tendency to blindly follow Xianxia's narrative without questioning her motives. Don't mistake this as an attempt to recruit you. Evan, your condition makes you a ticking time bomb, and I already have stronger subordinates than you, Victoria. I have no use for either of you, Michael clarified, wanting to set their expectations straight. But I'm doing this because, whether you like it or not, I've known both of you since I arrived in River Town. I hate seeing you manipulated by that bitch, he added, genuine concern underlying his words. Evan's curiosity got the better of him, and he couldn't help but ask, "What do you want from us?" To his surprise, Michael's response was cold and calculated. Nothing. As I said, you are free to leave, but I advise the two of you against revealing that I'm alive. If you do, I won't simply fake my death. I'll unleash every bit of my power. You can only imagine the consequences that would follow. I may be on the side of good, but I am not a saint. If someone threatens my life, I will go all out, prioritizing my well-being. Michael knew that Evan and Victoria wouldn't easily leave the cabin without falling into his plan. He wanted to give them the truth and offer them a choice, rather than manipulating them completely. Though he had his own battles to fight, he hoped that they would stay out of his way and keep the world in peace until he was ready to settle down with Nithroel ruling the world. But if Noah and his allies stood against him at that time, he would not hesitate to face them head-on, even if it meant taking their lives for real. I want to have a long talk with Xianxia. Evan clenched his fist, his sadness and pain replaced by a fiery fury. Killing her won't solve anything, Evan. If we take out one Xianxia, another will rise to take her place. We need to figure out who is truly behind all of this because there's always a bigger threat lurking in the shadows, Michael explained. So, I should just let her go and pretend nothing happened? Evan growled. Yes, Michael nodded. Let the world believe Victoria died, just like they believe I'm dead. I'll keep her safe while you stay close to Xianxia. But remember, don't pick sides until you know the truth. When you're with her, observe how she manipulates everyone around her. Use your brain, Evan. Deep down, you know it's the right choice, said Michael. For a few moments, Evan and Victoria contemplated Michael's words. Finally, Victoria broke the silence in the room. I want him safe. If what you said about his grave rejecting his body is true, I demand a cure for him, Victoria asserted firmly, showing her determination. I'm heading somewhere next, where I might find a cure for him. You have my word that I will do everything in my power to fix him, Michael responded, his tone filled with confidence, which strangely brought a sense of reassurance to Victoria. Then, with a swift motion of his hand, Michael produced a golden parchment and tossed it towards Evan and Victoria. Keep these scrolls safe. They are teleportation scrolls. They will sense if you are in mortal danger and transport you to a safe location, Michael explained, making sure they understood the importance of the scrolls. Both Evan and Victoria nodded, grateful for the aid Michael offered, despite their complicated feelings towards him. After Evan and Victoria left the cabin, Vidora appeared through a teleportation portal. Everything is ready. I've been monitoring the Council of Immortals, and they are heading towards the mountains. We need to go now if we want to secure the crystal, Iag informed Michael. Before leaving Mount Galleon, Michael had asked Vidora to keep a close eye on the Immortals. The destruction and loss of their fellow Immortals had sent them into a panic, and they decided to protect the crystal that held a piece of the Queen's soul. Do you believe Evan will work with us now? Sarba inquired as Michael prepared to head back to the Immortal Council. He will, Michael replied with confidence. We'll have a spy deep within the heart of our enemy's ranks. Iag chuckled in delight. Celici is not my enemy. I could kill her any time I want. But I want to learn more about Andor and see if he truly controls Celici. Someone is pulling her strings, and I need to know who it is before taking action. With Celici believing him dead, she will soon make a mistake, and Evan will be there to exploit it and give us the information we need, Michael explained. Kane nodded in agreement with Michael's plan. Then, Vidroa leaped onto Michael's shoulder as he teleported himself near Mount Galleon using his runic teleportation. Once he appeared at the freezing cold mountaintop, Michael flew above the manor, scanning the area for any sign of the Immortals. Soon, he spotted them, carefully making their way down the mountain using a narrow pathway. There they are, Iag whispered into Michael's ear. Hovering above the sky, Michael observed the Immortals as they arrived at a wall of snow on the mountain. To his surprise, they placed their hands on the wall, causing the mountain to tremble slightly. The ice wall opened, revealing a hidden cave entrance. Before Michael could follow them, the wall closed, trapping the Immortals inside. Unaffected by the strange energy barrier around the mountain, Michael calmly floated towards the ice wall, bypassing the narrow pathway. When he arrived at the wall, Michael placed his hand on it and called upon the system. System, open this wall for me, Michael calmly requested. With 300,000 badass coins from Michael, the system surpassed the runes on the wall, allowing Michael to enter the cave. The inside of the cave was illuminated by a soft blue glow, eliminating the need for a light source. Following the footprints left by the Immortals, Michael reached the end of the cave where he saw several old men and women dressed in pure white robes standing around a mysterious black crystal. Michael noticed a dark wisp of smoke emanating from the black crystal and entering the heads of the Immortals. They stood around in a trance-like state, their gazes fixed on the ice ceiling. Kill those fools and bring back the crystal to the demon's grave. Michael suddenly heard the voice of the Queen in his head, causing a jolt in his body. How does she keep invading my thoughts? Michael wondered, feeling perplexed and ready to take action against the Immortals. Soon, Michael quietly approached the group of Immortals as he saw them forming a circle around the black crystal. One by one, they joined the circle and their eyes glazed over, indicating they were under some form of mind control. The dark wisp of smoke from the crystal seemed to be manipulating their minds, rendering them obedient to its will. Taking advantage of their trance-like state, Michael stealthily moved closer to the Immortals, his dark swords unsheathed and ready to strike. Each step was calculated and silent as he closed the distance, his heart racing with the anticipation of the impending confrontation. I am writing this chapter with a fever, so sorry for any mistakes. Chapter 1053. Finishing the Queen's quest. As Michael stealthily approached the Immortals, he decided to take a different route, dropping down from an elevated place rather than using the stairs. He closed his eyes, expanding his senses throughout the cave, and confirmed that there was no other way out for the Immortals but through him. With them trapped, his sole task was to eliminate them all. Walking towards the Immortals, he felt the heavy energy radiating from the dark crystal. Surprisingly, the crystal tried to ensnare him in a trance, but being the god of darkness, Michael was able to resist its influence and break the connection. I wonder what they were thinking, Iag mused from atop Michael's shoulder. The Immortals were all looking up, their eyes rolled back behind their eye sockets. Kill them all and sever the connection with my crystal, the Queen's voice echoed in Michael's head again. Stop doing that, Michael whispered through gritted teeth, frustrated with the intrusion. What did we do? Asked Iag, confused by Michael's reaction. I can hear the Queen's voice inside my head, Michael whispered, circling around the entranced immortals. "Why aren't we hearing her?" Sarba inquired. "Why would you want that, you moron?" Iag scolded her brother, lowering her voice. Meanwhile, Michael moved his hands in front of the immortals to see if they reacted to his presence. As expected, they remained completely entranced by the crystal in the middle. "Kill them," the queen's voice echoed once more, and Michael couldn't help but let out a slightly annoyed response. Okay. With his two dark swords in hand, Michael moved with lightning speed, a blur of motion as he swiftly decapitated each of the immortals. Their heads rolled off their bodies, blood spattering on the ground, creating a gruesome scene. Despite the brutal attack, their bodies remained firmly rooted to the ground, unaffected by their severed heads. Ignoring this oddity, Michael continued his path towards the dark crystal. As he approached the crystal, he noticed a dark smoke shrouding it. Upon slaying the immortals, Michael witnessed wisps of white smoke being absorbed from their lifeless bodies into the crystal. The system's notifications continued to ring inside his head, rewarding him for his lethal actions with experience points and badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing an immortal. The reward is 2 million experience points and 5,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 8,000 badass points. The crystal seemed to pulsate with energy, and Michael could feel a surge of power emanating from it. He knew that this crystal contained a piece of the queen's soul, and it was crucial to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. The queen's voice in his head had made it clear that she wanted him to retrieve the crystal, and Michael had no intention of disobeying her. Despite their decapitated state, the bodies of the immortals remained rooted to the ground. Michael paid no mind to this strange phenomenon and proceeded toward the dark crystal. The crystal was enveloped in a cloud of dark smoke, and as Michael took the lives of the immortals, he noticed wisps of white smoke being absorbed into the crystal. "The crystal is devouring their souls," Saba observed, noting the eerie white smoke floating into the dark artifact. "This crystal contains a piece of the queen's soul. What did you expect?" Michael chuckled as he reached out to grasp the crystal. A sudden electric sensation ran down his spine, and he found himself in a disorienting vision. In the vision, he stood alone before a massive army, with the surroundings plunged into darkness, and a volcanic mountain spewing lava streams on the horizon. It took a moment for Michael to shake off the vision and return to reality. "Bring it to the demon's grave." Yet again, Michael heard the queen's voice in his head. "The demon's grave, got it," Michael replied to the queen's voice in his head. As he turned to leave, Sarba raised a valid question. "What about these bodies? Shouldn't we destroy them?" "Nah, it will give the immortals something to worry about," Michael said with a devilish grin. With the world believing the Dark Lord to be dead, the Council of Immortals would be baffled and terrified, decided to let them speculate and stew in fear over the mysterious deaths, trying to figure out who had slain their brethren. Destroying the bodies with dark flames might raise suspicion, as the use of such powerful primordial flame could leave traces behind. Michael decided to let them speculate and stew in fear over the mysterious deaths. After acquiring the crystal, Michael swiftly utilized his runic teleportation to reach the safe house provided by Nithrol. In an instant, he found himself in a spacious hall, illuminated by a magnificent chandelier. At the center of the hall, Eladir was engrossed in engraving glowing runes on a teleportation portal. Thanks to Eladir's ingenuity, Michael had been able to transport the teleporter from his dark castle to Nithrol's safe house when the Skyhall army captured his stronghold. "How's the task coming along, Eladir?" Michael inquired, approaching the runemaster. "It's challenging, to be honest. These rune words require the expertise of another 6-star runemaster. Are you certain about teleporting yourself into the realm of gods? We have no idea how far that realm is," Eladir expressed his concern, his brows furrowing. Michael stood before the colossal teleporter, observing the dark vortex swirling in its center, surrounded by glowing runes adorning its frame. "And what about the barrier that separates our realm from the realm of gods? How do you know it will allow you to pass through?" Eladir added, genuinely worried about the well-being of the Dark Lord. To him, Michael was not just a lord but also a cherished student and son figure. "Because I placed the barrier," Michael calmly replied. He was aware that the previous Dark Lord had created the barrier with the intention of entering the realm of gods after defeating Noah. However, Michael had different plans. Instead of killing Noah and creating a hole in the barrier, he staged his own death and devised a plan to use the powerful system to breach the realm of gods. The cost demanded by the system to teleport him through the barrier was staggering. 50 million badass points. Such an expense would leave him with only 10 million badass points. But it was a risk Michael had to take. Don't try to stop him, Ella dear. Saga sighed from her perch on Michael's shoulder. Activate the teleporter to the forge, Michael instructed. You managed to obtain the Queen's crystal from the Immortals? Eladir inquired. Michael nodded, and as Eladir closed his eyes and sketched a few runes in the air, the vortex started swirling. Michael confidently stepped into the vortex, disappearing from the hall. Michael materialized at his forge but found no ongoing work there. Deciding to leave the forge for the time being, he activated his metal wings and soared to the peak of Mount Hades. From this vantage point, he could witness the vast expanse of the demon's grave, a desolate landscape where a colossal bull grazed in the distance, and a myriad of eerie and diverse monsters roamed freely. The red sky and black lightning contributed to the eerie ambience of the place. Hey Queen, do you have a specific location in mind for this crystal? Michael inquired, producing the dark crystal from his space ring with a casual gesture. A heavy silence greeted Michael as the Queen remained unresponsive. However, a faint glow appeared in the distance, illuminating a barren ground. I suppose that's where you want me to place the crystal, Michael surmised, his voice unwavering as he addressed the unseen Queen. With a graceful flap of his wings, he took flight and headed toward the glowing area. Where? Saga asked. You can't see it, Michael replied simply, his wings propelling him through the sky with ease. Within a matter of minutes, Michael touched down on the ground, where the earth emanated a soft glow. To Vidroa, the ground appeared crimson and sandy, seemingly unremarkable in comparison to the rest of the demon's grave. Here you go. One soul crystal delivered to you. Michael carefully placed the crystal on the ground, his anticipation evident in his posture. However, no immediate response came. Can I leave? Michael asked, looking around for any sign of acknowledgement from the Queen. But before he received a reply, the ground beneath him trembled violently. The earth cracked open, and the crystal plunged into the depths of the fissure. In a blink, the crack sealed shut as if swallowing the crystal whole. Guess my work is done, Michael muttered, intending to depart. Yet, a sudden chill ran down his spine, compelling him to turn back. Above the very spot where he had placed the crystal, a haunting silhouette of a woman emerged, formed from dark ethereal smoke. Vidora, the three-headed hydra perched on Michael's shoulder, trembled in fear, an uncommon occurrence for such a formidable creature. My next piece of soul is in the realm of gods, the same place where you are going next. Retrieve it from the god who holds my soul crystal, and I will grant you a favor, the figure spoke, and Michael immediately recognized it as some manifestation of the Queen. While fear didn't grip him, her offer did surprise him, especially her willingness to offer a favor. Since I'm already heading to the realm of gods, it won't hurt to retrieve your crystal. But this time, there's no time limit, Michael declared. Very well. Just remember not to keep me waiting for too long. Otherwise, my pet over there can turn your beloved forge to dust, the Queen warned, pointing a smoky finger toward the colossal bull in the distance. Michael was taken aback, finally uncovering the truth behind the enigmatic creature. Ever since he set foot in the demon's grave, the colossal bull, towering enough to touch the clouds, had puzzled him. Now he understood that the bull was a pet of the Queen. Deal, Michael sighed, agreeing to the Queen's terms. Chapter 1054 Introduction to the Realm of Gods. With the Queen's task completed, Michael returned to Nithral's manor, where Gaia eagerly awaited him. She knew Michael was about to embark on his journey to the realm of gods and wanted to bid her husband farewell. The hall was empty, with only a cozy sofa set in the middle and windows overlooking the serene canyon and the shimmering lake. Everything went well? Gaia asked Michael, her eyes filled with concern and love. Michael nodded and wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into a warm hug. They shared a passionate kiss, cherishing each other's presence before parting. Nithrol will be here in a few moments, Gaia informed him. Michael settled on the sofa, and Gaia joined him, their eyes locked in a loving gaze. I am only going there next week, Michael calmly revealed, surprising Gaia. Why? What's the reason? She asked in shock. Because I promised you I would take you on a honeymoon when everything is over, and I intend to keep my promise, said Michael, holding Gaia close. He kissed her on the side of her head, showing his affection for her. When did you become so romantic? Gaia asked, her voice filled with joy. It had been months since they spent quality time together without any worries. She thought Michael had forgotten about their promise, but she understood the immense responsibilities he carried. As his wife, she wanted to support him rather than add to his burdens. "When I married the most beautiful snake in the entire world," Michael chuckled, planting another sweet kiss on her lips. "Where do we go?" Gaia asked, her excitement bubbling over. "Anywhere you want," Michael replied, his heart brimming with love for his wife. Gaia's eyes sparkled with excitement as she reached into her space ring and pulled out a parchment filled with her neatly written notes. "Oh, Michael, you won't believe the places I've been dreaming of. First, there's the Celestial Gardens, a realm of floating islands adorned with vibrant flowers that glow in the moonlight." Michael couldn't help but tease her lovingly. "Taking notes on honeymoon destinations, are we?" "You really are something else." Gaia playfully swatted his arm. "Of course. I want this to be a honeymoon we'll cherish forever. And there's more," she continued. "Next, we have the Starfall Meadows, where stars descend every night, dancing across the sky in a breathtaking spectacle. It's as if the heavens themselves are celebrating love." Michael raised an amused eyebrow. "Starfall Meadows, huh? You sure know how to find the most magical places." But Gaia's excitement was infectious, and she couldn't contain herself. "And then there's the Enchanted Forest, where the trees are said to sing melodies and the flowers change colors with every step you take. It's like walking in a living painting." Michael chuckled. "You really have put a lot of thought into this, haven't you? It sounds like you've planned our honeymoon better than any war strategy." Gaia giggled and leaned closer to him. "Well, my dear Dark Lord, I just want this to be perfect for us. After all, we deserve a moment of magic and joy amidst all the chaos." "You're right," Michael said, his tone softening. "I couldn't think of anyone better to share this with than you." As they bantered and laughed, Michael and Gaia planned their dream honeymoon, choosing one enchanting location after another. As Michael and Gaia continued planning their dream honeymoon, the door to the hall swung open, and Eve hurriedly entered, her face flushed with exertion from training. "Hey, the Empress is here," Eve announced, catching her breath. It was evident that she had been pushing herself to prepare for the battles ahead, determined to fight alongside Gaia when the Dark Lord departed for the realm of gods. Before Michael could reply, Nithroel gracefully entered the hall, unaccompanied by any bodyguards. Her decision to forego protection was a wise one, given the need to keep her association with the Dark Lord a secret from the world that believed him to be deceased. Nithroel gracefully entered the hall, her presence exuding the regal aura of an empress combined with the power of a goddess of hunt. Michael and Gaia warmly greeted her with smiles as she took her seat before them. "I'll take my leave." Eve nodded at Michael and departed from the hall. Wanted to ensure that everything was settled between them since she had ordered Michael's assassins to find and kill Gaia's biological. "Are you ready to depart?" Nithroel inquired, her gaze briefly turning to Gaia. However, Gaia remained silent, giving no indication of any resentment towards Nithroel. The Empress wanted to ensure that everything was settled between them since she had ordered Michael's assassins to find and kill Gaia's biological father, Ingram. But as Gaia stayed quiet, Nithroel decided not to delve further into the matter. "Eladir is still working on the teleporter. It should be ready by the end of next week," Michael replied. Nithroel leaned back, crossing her legs gracefully. "What are your plans in the meantime?" the Empress inquired. "Just some personal matters to attend to. Nothing major. But it'll be out of reach," Michael responded. "Me neither. Tomorrow, I plan to venture into the treacherous ocean. But before I depart, I thought to give you a brief introduction to the realm of gods." Nithroel surprised both Michael and Gaia with her announcement. The treacherous ocean was a perilous place, and they couldn't help but wonder what a goddess and empress like Nithroel intended to do there. "Are you planning to go alone? Don't you have your war gods for such matters?" Michael inquired. "The times are changing, Dark Lord. Now that the world believes you are dead, every kingdom seeks a new villain to target. I understand mortals well. They need someone to hate, fight, and fear to survive, just like they need food, air and water," Nithroel calmly explained. "And what's your point?" Michael asked, his brows furrowing. "The dwarves in the Beast Kingdom are amassing a large number of soldiers, preparing for war. I've been hearing about the plans of almost every king and queen to expand their kingdoms. The Beast King is even plotting to send his forces to the southern continent and invade them," Nithroel revealed. Gaia chuckled devilishly at the revelation. "Let's see how he invades the southern continent," she snickered. Gaia and Michael had dispatched Lenora and Trista, two of the most powerful elder vampires, to regain control of the southern continent. Don't underestimate the Beast King, Dark Queen. He may not be a god like me and your husband, but he is just as capable as any god, Nithroel warned Gaia. Curious, Michael inquired. So, what's the connection between expanding and your venture into the treacherous ocean? Power, what else? Whoever controls the untapped potential in the treacherous ocean controls the outcome of any war. And I want that power for the Gondolin Empire, Nithroel declared with cold determination. Gaia couldn't hold back her anger and frustration any longer and decided to confront Nithroel about her ambitions. Since I am not refusing your request to have my father killed by my husband's assassins, let me ask you, Empress, why are you so keen on ruling the Aur continent and expanding Gondolin? You are a goddess. Why not plan on returning to your own world? Gaia questioned. Nithroel understood Gaia's inner turmoil and realized that Michael had informed her about the request to find and kill Ingram. However, Nithroel didn't harbor any ill intentions toward Gaia. If anything, she empathized with her. When your husband returns from the realm of gods, he will tell you why. The short answer I can give you at this point is that the realm of gods is far worse than this world. Which brings me to why I am here. Nithroel paused for a moment and leaned forward. If everything goes according to your plan, you will land in the forest of Elrian, the domain of the goddess Marley. Seek her help, but be careful not to get too close to her, Nithroel warned. Why? Asked Michael intrigued. Because she is a lustful predator, Nithroel revealed. Gaia was taken aback by the unexpected revelation as Nithroel continued. Once you find the divine portals, I'd recommend starting your journey in the realm of gods from Kingdom Nimbosia, ruled by the god of rain, Raynar. It will be a good starting point for you to learn the dynamics of the realm and witness firsthand how cruel a god can be. As Nithroel spoke, she gracefully flicked her wrist, summoning a silver chain with a golden arrow attached to it. With a confident gesture, she tossed the chain to Michael. This is my medallion. It will conceal your godly aura and keep you hidden from the Pantheon. Remember to wear it at all times while in the realm of gods, unless you want the entire Pantheon's army at your doorstep. Dark Lord, you are venturing deep into the den of countless hungry lions, Nithroel warned Michael. Her concern for his success was evident, as she knew that if he failed, the Pantheon would break the barrier between the mortal realm and the realm of gods. This would lead to a chaotic invasion, with each god seeking to claim a piece of the mortal realm for worshippers and power. Such a catastrophe would shatter her dream of ruling the entire mortal realm, leaving behind the mysterious reason for her ambitious desire. Is there any chance Raynar would want to make a deal or ally with me? Michael inquired, his curiosity piqued. Nithroel couldn't help but chuckle at the question. Oh my Dark Lord, you have much to learn about the gods. High gods like Raynar, who hold titles such as God of Rain, are devoted solely to the Pantheon. They wield immense power and influence over the mortal realm, even with the barrier in place. For instance, if Raynar were to be killed, the mortal realm would not receive any rainfall until another god of rain was born in the realm of gods, Nithroel explained. Michael found himself increasingly intrigued by the realm of gods and the intricate dynamics at play. However, getting more information was a challenge, especially since meeting Nithroel in person was nearly impossible due to their need to maintain the facade of his death. Perhaps gods without titles or kingdoms to rule might consider allying with you. But to make that happen, you must become truly formidable. Otherwise, no sane god would dare go against the Pantheon. I suggest two potential approaches. Either find a way to join the Pantheon and work with them until you can seize an opportunity to double-cross them, or quietly grow your worshippers within the realm of gods, Nithroel advised. How do I do that? Michael inquired. Select a messenger and send them to spread word about your power. As desperate people begin to pray to you, use your abilities to fulfill their wishes. They will see it as miracles, and your worshippers will grow. However, this approach is dangerous, as no god likes their worshippers being poached. As I said, once you enter the realm of gods, you'll find that things are similar to the mortal realm, only much worse and more cruel, Nithroel cautioned. Chapter 1055, Honeymoon. Despite Nithroel's suggestions, Michael had another risky plan in mind, to ally himself with Dagon, the ruler of Hell. Why? Because Dagon held a deep-seated hatred for the Pantheon, making him a potential ally against their common enemy. Do you have any worshippers in the realm of gods? Gaia inquired. Nithroel let out a heavy sigh in response. It has been thousands of years since I set foot in the realm of gods. I doubt I still have any worshippers there. Even if they remained, it would be futile since I cannot hear their prayers. Other gods may have already poached them. Nevertheless, they might find some solace in serving my name, she explained. The idea of amassing worshippers seemed to weigh heavily on Michael's mind after hearing Nithrol's words. While he had the assistance of the system to grow stronger, he recognized the importance of building his own worshippers for the future. Is there anything else you can tell me about the Pantheon? Michael inquired. As Michael inquired about the Pantheon, Nithrol warned him, they are like the sky hall of the realm of gods, overseeing and controlling everything. Any god who dares to defy them will face severe consequences. Trust me when I say this, you don't want to be on the bad side of the Pantheon. But whatever you do, stay away from gods like Rudra. They don't come out of their kingdoms often, but when they do, only death and destruction will follow them. Nithrol's warning about Rudra, the god of war, echoed in Michael's mind. He knew firsthand the destructive power of Rudra, as a mere orc possessed by a fragment of his strength had overwhelmed him in battle. The memory of that defeat fueled a deep desire for vengeance against the war god. However, Michael chose to remain silent for now, knowing that facing Rudra would require careful planning and immense power. He understood the gravity of Nithrol's words and the need to tread cautiously in the realm of gods, especially when dealing with beings of such immense strength and ruthlessness. Throughout their conversation, Nithrol shared valuable insights about the realm of gods and offered suggestions on how to navigate it once Michael arrived there. After bidding farewell to the couple, Nithrol left them alone. With their preparations complete, Michael and Gaia set off for the Celestial Gardens, a hidden pocket dimension accessible only to those with knowledge of its existence. Nestled above Nagaland, the gardens remained invisible to the people, serving as a perfect getaway for the couple. Let's go, Michael said, surprising Gaia with his sudden decision. What now? She asked. Let's leave now. I fear something might come up if we stay here any longer. So I am taking my lovely wife with me, Michael said with a mischievous smile as he swooped Gaia into his arms. To the honeymoon you truly deserve, he added, his eyes reflecting affection and passion for his beloved wife. Without wasting a second in the safe house, Michael and Gaia teleported themselves to the nearest runic teleportation spot near Nagaland. As they ascended through the clouds, they swiftly changed their armor to disguise themselves from any prying eyes. Gaia, her heart brimming with excitement and anticipation, couldn't help but share her carefully crafted plans for their honeymoon. Michael, you won't believe the places I've researched for our honeymoon. The Celestial Gardens will be the perfect starting point for our journey. It's said to be a realm of unimaginable beauty, filled with enchanting flora and fauna, and captivating landscapes that will leave us in awe. As they flew closer to the opening of the pocket dimension leading to the Celestial Gardens, Gaia's voice turned slightly melancholic. I can't believe we only have a week together before you must venture to the realm of gods. I wish you could stay with me longer. Michael gently squeezed her hand and spoke tenderly. I wish I could too. But dealing with the Pantheon and growing stronger is crucial for our future together. I promise once I return, we'll have all the time in the world to be together. While Michael and Gaia soared through the sky, a breathtaking panorama unfolded before them. Fluffy, cotton-like clouds floated gently beneath their feet, casting shadows on the land below. The warm rays of the sun bathed them in a golden glow, while the vast expanse of the blue sky stretched endlessly above, dotted with wisps of white. The wind embraced them like a gentle caress, carrying their laughter and whispers through the open air. As Michael and Gaia approached the distortion in space, Gaia's excitement grew. She gestured for him to stop, and as they hovered in the empty sky, she produced a peculiar snake-shaped key from her space ring. To Michael's surprise, the key floated in mid-air before them. A key to the Celestial Gardens? I didn't know you had it, Michael said, his eyes filled with curiosity. I didn't. Mom gave it to me last week, Gaia beamed with joy. So you and your mom planned this all along. Sneaky, Michael chuckled, feeling grateful for their thoughtful gesture. Be grateful Mom didn't kick your butt for not taking me on a honeymoon sooner. Even now, we only have 1 week together. You're lucky to have such a caring and lovely wife, Gaia teased, a playful glint in her eyes as she restrained her laughter. With the key hovering before them, they both reached out and touched it simultaneously. As they did, the distortion in space began to grow, revealing a hidden portal to the Celestial Gardens. Hand in hand, they stepped through the shimmering portal, leaving behind the mortal realm. As Michael stepped through the shimmering portal, he found himself in a breathtaking world unlike anything he had ever seen before. The celestial gardens stretched out before him, a realm of floating islands adorned with vibrant flowers that glowed in the soft moonlight. Each island seemed to emanate a gentle aura, creating a mesmerizing sight that captured his heart. The air was filled with the sweet fragrance of the blossoms, and a gentle breeze caressed his face, carrying a sense of tranquility and peace. The sky above was a mesmerizing tapestry of stars, twinkling like precious gems against a backdrop of deep indigo. It felt as if time had stopped in this ethereal place, and Michael couldn't help but be in awe of its beauty. Looking around, he noticed the islands were interconnected by delicate, luminescent bridges that seemed to weave through the air like delicate spiderwebs. Crystal-clear waterfalls cascaded down from some of the islands, creating small streams that meandered through the floating landscape. Hovering in the sky, Michael spread his senses throughout the celestial gardens and found no life signs. With a devilish grin, he ordered the system to lock down the entrance to the gardens. "How much will it cost to lock the palace down?" he asked. "Free. Consider this my wedding gift to you, host." The system replied, surprising Michael. "Wow, that's a first time," he chuckled. As the system closed down the celestial gardens, Michael turned to Gaia with a loving smile. "After you, Snakey." He gestured for her to move forward and enjoy the sight before her as much as she wanted. Gaia shook her head playfully. "Not without you," she said, pulling him close and kissing him passionately. Finally, after being with her for almost 3 years, Michael felt their love reach new heights. The following hours in the celestial gardens were filled with their deep affection and intimacy, their bond growing even stronger amidst the magical beauty of the floating islands and glowing flowers. As the hours passed, Michael and Gaia found themselves lying on a floating mountain above the soft grassland, wrapped in a soft fluffy bedsheet, and gazing at the sky above. Gaia rested her head on Michael's chest, her eyes filled with love and contentment. "I don't want to sound silly like most girls do, but I'm so in love with you, you bastard," she playfully pinched Michael's cheek. He couldn't help but smile, cherishing these peaceful moments with his wife. "You don't sound silly at all, Gaia. You sound like the beautiful woman I married. I promise you, we will spend the rest of our godly lives like this," Michael reassured her. "With little Michaels and Gaias," Gaia added, her voice hopeful, as she looked at him, silently asking if he shared the same desire. Michael held her gaze, his eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. "Why not?" he finally said with a playful smile. Although he had reservations about having kids, he loved Gaia so deeply that he couldn't bear to deny her the joy of having a family. He wanted to make her happy and see her dreams come true. Gaia was stunned and overjoyed by Michael's response. A wide grin spread across her face, and she couldn't contain her excitement. She showered him with kisses, expressing her happiness in each loving touch. "Really? You mean it?" she asked, her eyes shimmering with joy. "Of course. I may not have considered it before, but seeing how much you want it, I can't resist," Michael replied, brushing her hair affectionately. Gaia chuckled playfully. "So, how many kids are we going to have then?" Michael pretended to think for a moment. Let's see. We have eternity ahead of us, right? So why not enough to populate a kingdom?" he teased, his eyes filled with affection. Gaia's laughter filled the air, and she hugged him tightly. "I love you so much," she whispered. "And I love you more," Michael replied, kissing her forehead. They lay there, wrapped in each other's arms, cherishing the moment and the promise of a future together, filled with love, laughter, and the pitter-patter of little feet. A Calm Before the Storm Chapter 1056. Reaching the realm of the gods. As the week with Gaia flew by in the blink of an eye, Michael found himself back at the safe house, ready to embark on his journey to the realm of the gods. He bid farewell to his loving wife and friends, expressing his gratitude and promising to return. In the hall, he found Eladir waiting with the teleporter, the key to his next destination. Vidora perched on Michael's shoulder, the loyal companion accompanying him on this perilous journey. With a sense of determination and anticipation, Michael took a deep breath, knowing that the realm of the gods held both challenges and opportunities that he was prepared to face. "Everything's ready," Eladir said, though his concern for the perilous journey ahead was evident in his expression. Despite his worries, he knew that the Dark Lord's decision was final, and he couldn't dissuade him from venturing into the realm of gods. "There's no point in delaying this any longer." "Activate the portal, Eladir," urged Michael, his determination unwavering. Without hesitation, Eladir ascended the stairs leading to the swirling vortex. His fingers traced the intricate runes engraved on the portal's frame, each glowing with power. As the runes activated, a distortion rippled through the air, signaling the gateway to the realm of gods was opening. Iag, perched on Michael's shoulder, showed no signs of fear, only excitement for the legendary adventure that lay ahead. As you wish, Eladir replied solemnly, fully aware of the risks involved. He carefully ensured that no one else entered the hall during the activation to avoid any possible complications. Reluctantly, Michael had agreed to take Vidora with him, mainly because the system had recommended it. Though Vidora hadn't been growing in size, Michael hoped that the realm of gods might hold the key to unlocking Vidora's true potential. As Eladir activated the runes one by one, the black vortex began to form within the teleporter, pulling him towards it. Reacting quickly, Michael rushed up the stairs and pulled Eladir back with a single strong motion, keeping him safe from the vortex's grasp. Time doesn't flow differently in the realm of gods, so you'll see me soon, hopefully. Michael raised his voice over the howling sound of the vortex. Eladir's concern was evident as he shouted back, "Don't take too long, my lord." With a warm smile, Michael reassured him, "Look after Gaia and the others." As he stepped into the swirling portal, Michael turned back to Eladir and nodded, "I'll see you soon." "See ya around, old man," Iag chimed in excitedly before Michael disappeared into the portal. As Michael traveled through the swirling portal of colors, he couldn't help but feel the weight of recent events weighing on him. The glimpses of his battle with Noah and all the challenges he had faced in the past weeks played before his eyes like vivid memories. Amidst the journey, Iag and Sarba expressed their excitement while witnessing the vibrant images surrounding them. "What is this?" Iag questioned curiously. "A ripple in time and space is causing this," Cain explained. Lost in his thoughts, Michael remained silent, contemplating everything he had experienced. The revelation of Noah being his twin brother still left him in disbelief. Breaking the silence, Saba spoke up. "Are you going to be this silent the whole way? We have no idea how long it'll take us to reach the realm of gods. So we should talk more." Acknowledging the need for conversation, Michael asked, "What do you want to talk about?" Saba hesitated for a moment before bringing up a name. "Actually, I wanted to say something. You know Yasmin Winston?" The mention of the name jogged Michael's memory. He recalled meeting her during the baby shower of Princess Catherine, when he confronted King Breedia. "Noah's cousin?" Michael inquired. "Yes," Saba nodded. "What about her?" Michael asked. "I don't know. Arya said she's been meeting with some important people in Arar. Also, she didn't partake in the war. I wonder what's more important than fighting the Dark Lord," Iag pondered. "Whatever she is planning, Gaia can take care of it," Michael said. "Why do I feel like you want her to face everything by herself?" Iag frowned, surprised that Michael's intentions were evident. "She needs to. I can't always be around her. She used to face everything alone, but now she's starting to depend on me slightly. She is a queen born to lead, so she must lead. This will be a good opportunity for her to lead from the shadows and take care of things while I'm away," Michael explained. "But isn't that the opposite of what the previous Dark Lord said? He was with her, and still, the previous Gaia died. So why are you letting her do this alone?" asked Iag. "Maybe the reason she died is that the previous Dark Lord tried to protect her too much. Sometimes you gotta take risks," Michael responded. As they continued discussing Yasmin and even Eve's sister, Michael remained oblivious to the fact that they were clones sent by the Sky Hall. Regardless of the Sky Hall's plans, Michael had no intention of dealing with them, as he had bigger worries on his mind. Several weeks had passed since Michael entered the portal, and both he and Vidora had grown quite bored. In an attempt to alleviate their boredom, Michael bought a special chessboard and taught Vidora how to play. As the days turned into a month, the once vibrant rainbow tunnel through which they traveled began losing its color, and a whistling wind surrounded them. "I think we're finally here," Michael remarked, but before Vidora could respond, a powerful force sucked them forward, causing Michael to feel as though his body was being torn apart. Closing his eyes, he held onto Vidora tightly to keep them both safe. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and Michael found himself shot out of the portal. When he opened his eyes, he saw that they had landed on a breathtaking grassland outside a lush and beautiful forest. Michael instantly recalled Nithrol's words, realizing that they must be in the forest of Elrian, ruled by the goddess Marley. As per Nithrol's advice, Michael knew he had to seek Marla's help before venturing into Nimbosia, the kingdom of the god of rain. The forest of Elrian was unlike any other that Michael had ever seen. Towering ancient trees stretched towards the heavens, their branches intertwining to form a majestic canopy that filtered rays of sunlight, creating a dance of light and shadow on the forest floor. The air was filled with the fragrance of blooming flowers, and the sound of birds singing and leaves rustling added to the enchanting atmosphere. As Michael and Vidora stepped deeper into the forest, they heard faint whispers carried on the gentle breeze. At first, Michael couldn't decipher the words, but soon they became clearer. A lattice voice called out to him, addressing him as the Dark Lord and the God of Darkness. "Dark Lord," the voice whispered seductively, "venture deeper into the heart of the forest. Embrace your true power and darkness. Let the shadows guide you to unimaginable strength." Michael felt a pull towards the source of the voice, a mix of intrigue and caution swirling within him. He knew he had to be careful, for this could be a trap or a test from Marley, the goddess of the forest. But he couldn't resist the temptation to explore further. "Marley, I presume?" Michael asked as he ventured further into the forest, undeterred by the haunting whispers around him. He recalled Nithrol's warning about keeping his distance from the lustful goddess, but he remained steadfast. "You know me, how lovely." The whispers took on a seductive tone, making Iag uncomfortable on Michael's shoulder. "Dude, this is creeping me out," Iag chimed in. "Now, I want to see you fight, handsome." But on my terms, the whispers grew louder, and the forest began to shift and change. The fauna cleared, creating an empty space in the middle of the forest. Michael felt his power being drained, as if Marley had absolute control over him in her domain. Unsheathing his dark swords, Michael cracked his neck and stood ready. 7 men clad in armor made of bark and leaves emerged from the surroundings. Their faces hidden behind masks made of tree barks, and each wielded a silver sword with 4 arms. "Is this how you welcome another god into your domain?" Michael challenged, wondering how Marley could sense his presence despite wearing Nithrol's medallion, which was supposed to mask his godly aura from others. Seemingly reading his mind, Marley responded with a mysterious air. "I forged that medallion for Nithrol, my dear Dark Lord. But don't worry, your secret is safe with me. Now show me how you survive in battle." As Marley's whispers echoed through the forest, veins shot out from the ground, wrapping tightly around Michael's legs and torso. They felt like living tendrils, strong and unyielding. Above him, more veins descended from the branches of the trees, latching onto his arms and restricting his movements. The masked figures, each displaying uncanny speed and coordination, dashed at Michael from all directions. Their silver swords glinted in the dappled sunlight filtering through the dense canopy. Michael struggled to free himself from the grip of the magical veins, but they seemed to tighten with every move he made. "Don't think he'll let you off easy, my dear," Marley whispered, her voice tinged with amusement and intrigue. But Michael surprised her by remaining calm and composed. As the first masked figure dashed at him, his eyes turned black, and 2 dark beams shot out from them. Simultaneously, Vidora sprang into action, using their 3 hydra heads to chew through the veins that bound Michael's arms. "This is your domain, but you forgot one thing, Marley," Michael said with a sly smile as he broke free from the remaining veins with Vidora's assistance. The attackers hesitated, intrigued by Michael's words. "What is that, dearie?" asked Marley, genuinely curious. "Forget it," Michael chuckled, knowing he had to play his cards right. "I'll just kill them." With a swift motion of his hand, Michael unleashed the dark flames, enveloping the attackers in shadows. The forest erupted with chaos as the masked figures struggled to defend themselves against Michael's overwhelming power. Marley watched with a mix of fascination and satisfaction as Michael effortlessly dispatched the attackers. He moved with the grace of a dancer, his dark sword slicing through the air, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Despite the intensity of the battle, Michael held back from using his full strength. He knew Marley wasn't trying to kill him. She wanted to witness his prowess. And so, he gave her a captivating performance, using his power and skills to put on a show. As the last masked figure succumbed to Michael's dark swords, the forest fell silent. But suddenly, a rustle broke the stillness, drawing his attention. Emerging from the shadows, a woman adorned in little more than a few strategically placed leaves approached him with a seductive grace. "Hello, my dear Dark Lord," purred Marley, her voice a sultry melody that sent shivers down Michael's spine. Chapter 1057. Founders of Maze Roth is in the realm of gods. Before him stood the most mesmerizing woman he had ever seen, surpassing even the beauty of Gaia and Layla Alden. Yet, despite her alluring appearance, Michael remained composed and unaffected, surprising Marley. As she moved closer, he simply conjured robes to cover her and addressed her calmly. "Pleasure to meet you, Goddess Marley, I presume," Michael said, his demeanor unwavering. Marla's attempts at seduction seemed to have no effect on him, which only seemed to fuel her desire for him. She couldn't resist moving closer, her breath hot on his skin, and her intoxicating fragrance filling the air. However, Michael gently stepped back, holding up his hand to reveal a wedding ring. "You're a bit late for the seduction game, Marley. I am already married," he said, showing no hint of temptation. Marley felt a tinge of disappointment, but her desire for him remained unyielding. "Let's not waste our time and discuss how you can help me reach the divine portals," Michael straightforwardly asked Marley. In a seductive tone, Marley countered, "What do I get in return?" "The rarest jewel of all, my friendship," Michael confidently replied. Unfazed, Marley pushed further. "What if I said I want all of you or none of you?" Michael couldn't help but snicker at her proposition. He exuded an air of arrogance backed by formidable power, which only seemed to draw her closer to him. There was an undeniable magnetism about him that piqued her interest like no other god she had encountered. Unperturbed, Michael replied, "Then I will leave this forest and find my own way. Trust me, I'm no stranger to surviving in a new world all on my own. I've done it before, and I can do it again. But do you really want to be on my bad side?" As a god, fear was an alien emotion to Michael, and he certainly felt none towards Marley. Though he sensed that she was a god of higher power, he remained composed and unafraid. Unexpectedly, Michael reached out and pulled her closer, his hand wrapped around her waist. "We both know there's something that draws you to me as much as I'm drawn to you. So let's cut the pretense and discuss how we can help each other," he said coldly before releasing her. Marley moaned with delight, taking pleasure in asserting her dominance over him. Michael now understood why Nithroel had warned him not to get too close to Marley. "So you seek my help in finding the divine portals. Let me guess, she also told you to go to Nimbosia first and witness the atrocities of Raynar, the god of rain," Marley said, amusement lacing her voice. Curious, Michael pointed to the tree-shaped medallion hanging around his neck. "She gave me this medallion to suppress my god aura and hide my presence from the other gods. But you claim you forged it. What's your connection with Nithroel? Let's take a walk through my domain and talk," Marley gestured, leading Michael beside her. The forest came alive as the fauna and vegetation gracefully moved aside to make way for them. In this part of the world, the divine portals are rare. There is one in the desert of Vikan, but you'll have to fight through monsters and ugly creatures roaming the desert. If they don't get you, the desert dwellers will, Marley warned. "As a god, I believe I can handle a few monsters and whatever these dwellers are," Michael confidently asserted. Marley chuckled, amused by his naive bravado. "Honey, this world is not very different from the one you came from. The people here are unaware of the existence of the world below them. The fortunate mortals who manage to break through the celestial stage end up here, but their memories and powers are stripped away. They either become worshippers to the first god they encounter or go mad. A handful retain their memories, but they always strike some kind of deal with a god." Marley explained the intricacies of the realm of gods. "My point is, dear, only a god will recognize another god. However, since you're wearing my medallion, they will see you as nothing more than a commoner in this world. But don't let being a god get to your head. There are creatures here that can take down even a god and consume their soul. Some of these creatures have lived here longer than any god," she warned as Michael calmly walked beside her, attentively listening to her words. "Besides, if you use your god powers too much, the Pantheon will sense you and find you, regardless of whether you wear my medallion or not. The medallion is for you to keep safe while you learn about this world and build your worshippers. The more devotees you have, the more power you will gain," said Marley. But with the system and the dark seeds, he kinda didn't need worshippers to level up his godhood. Yet, he had a feeling things might not be as simple as he thought. "But won't building too many worshippers draw the Pantheon's attention?" Michael asked. "It certainly will. Did you expect your life to be easier here? That's why Nithroel prefers the mortal realm over the realm she was born in," Marley chuckled. "Things are simple in the mortal realm, but here, everything is complex and messy, thanks to the Pantheon. Now, let me tell you something that will complicate things even further for you. Since I assume you won't join a Pantheon, you won't get your own kingdom. So, You have to poach worshippers from other gods. Trust me when I say this, gods do not like it when their worshippers are taken away. Piss them off too much, and they will send their angels to smite you, Marley warned Michael, relishing in the challenge she presented to him. But luckily for you, there is an opportunity you can exploit. The Thunder God and Rain God are not on friendly terms. If one of them were to die, you could potentially claim their kingdom if you plan your moves right. However, it will draw the attention of the Pantheon. So whatever you do, it's impossible for you to survive here without crossing paths with the Pantheon. My suggestion to you is to draw their attention and strike some kind of deal. They are all too focused on Dagon, so they might be willing to bring you to their side. Desperate times call for desperate measures, honey, Marley advised, enjoying the thrill of revealing the complexities of the realm of gods to Michael. Marley suggested that Michael work with the Pantheon rather than against them. However, she had no idea about his true plans to ally himself with Dagon and fight against the Pantheon. As he listened to her explain the complexities of the world, Michael began to consider the idea of working with the Pantheon, at least for the time being. I don't think the Pantheon will welcome me with open arms, Marley. Apparently, the god of time and space has a bone to pick with me. And your god of war crashed my wedding, Michael said, watching Marla's reaction closely. As soon as she heard the name God of War, her face drained of color, and she trembled in fear. You seem to have pissed off two of the most powerful gods in the Pantheon. How did you do that? Asked Marley, clearly taken aback by the revelation. Michael chose not to reveal too much and pretended to have no idea about the reasons behind the god's enmity towards him. He didn't want to give away too many details to Marley, as he was still uncertain about her true intentions and allegiances. I don't know, Michael shrugged in response to Marla's question about Rudra's actions. But it's weird. Rudra doesn't just attack other gods on a whim. He's usually a pretty chill guy. If he decided to do what you said, he must have had a pretty good reason. Damn, I hate thinking too much. This is why I stay as far as possible from the Pantheon and their bloody politics, Marley pouted, clearly frustrated with the complexities of the godly world. As they continued walking through the forest, the silence between them lingered for a few moments before Marley finally spoke up. You can spend the night in my forest and we can talk more about this world, she offered. Thank you for your hospitality. But I need to ask you something. Why are you helping me? Michael inquired. Because I need your help, obviously. I told you about the war between the Rain God and the Thunder God. Many of my worshippers are getting caught in the middle, and they both don't care about the worshippers of another god. Since I cannot leave my domain, I want you to find a way to bring my worshippers here, Marley explained her reasons. And why can't you leave your domain? Michael asked curiously. Not just me, honey. No god who has a kingdom can leave their domain. You'll have to ask the Pantheon why, Marley responded with a hint of mystery in her voice. The sudden revelation that no god could leave their domains opened up a world of possibilities for Michael to exploit. If he could somehow kill a god, there wouldn't be interference from another god. But to achieve such a feat, he needed to learn more about the god-killing arrows. Have you ever heard of the people who discovered Maze-Roth? If you know Maze-Roth in the mortal realm, that is? Michael asked Marley. But when Marley heard his question, she burst into laughter. I know them very well. They are no longer just people, darling. They are gods here and serve the Pantheon, Marley said, surprising Michael with this unexpected twist. When did everyone become a god? I have the worst luck in the entire universe, Michael sighed inside. Chapter 1058 The Worshippers of the God of Darkness, honey. They've been serving the Pantheon for thousands of years. No wonder they were made into gods, Marley remarked as she licked her wrist, conjuring a camp. With a flick of her wrist, several logs flew toward the campfire and landed neatly. Michael settled onto a log, facing Marley. I thought you cannot turn someone into gods, Michael said. We all thought so. Life is full of surprises, especially when it comes to the Pantheon. Speaking of making gods, that's one of the reasons why Dagon rebelled against the Pantheon, Marlia explained. At the mention of Dagon's name, Michael's curiosity was piqued. He wanted to learn more about why a god like Dagon was banished from the realm of gods and relegated to ruling over hell. What do you mean? Michael inquired. Surprisingly, Vidora curled into his inner pocket and fell asleep. Dagon was always curious and an old god. Many gods don't know the truth. What I do know is that he started asking the Pantheon too many questions about their origins, their powers, and their creator, Marley elaborated. I believe it triggered the conflict between the Pantheon and Dagon. To know more, you'd have to ask either the Pantheon or Dagon himself. Marley chuckled as if making a jest. But seeing the chilling expression on Michael's face, her smile faltered. I was joking. Never try to involve yourself with Dagon, Marley cautioned Michael, her fear palpable in her eyes and words. This only fueled Michael's curiosity further. If he was to align himself with Dagon against the Pantheon, he needed to learn more about him. From what I've heard from you, Dagon didn't seem like a villain. There must be more to the story, Michael remarked. Dagon is not the good guy in the story, darling. He slaughtered millions of devotees of other gods, mainly those in the Pantheon and their angels. He razed places where the Pantheon held dominion, causing countless deaths. His thirst for knowledge and hatred for the Pantheon turned rivers of this world into streams of blood, Marley explained. Michael absorbed her words silently, then pressed further with another question. You mentioned that if one of the rain god or thunder god were to die, I could potentially take over their kingdoms. How does a god die? Specifically, how can a god be killed? Marley responded with a chuckle to his inquiry. Honey, that's a question nobody can truly answer. No one has witnessed a god's death or how one can be killed. Legends and tales speak of ancient monsters capable of devouring a god's soul, but we've never seen a god die. Not since I've been around, and believe me, that's quite a long time. But I do believe that anyone can be killed if the assailant is skilled enough, Marley said, her smile containing a hint of intrigue as if she had sensed a killer within Michael. The reason I mentioned Raynar or Cronar potentially dying is that I have a sense you're exploring ways to slay a god. Your devotees, even though they are few and hunted by many, believe that only you, the god of darkness, possess the ability to bring down a god. Fortunately, the Pantheon doesn't seem to be putting too much stock in that belief. Otherwise, you'd be at the top of their hit list alongside Dagon, Marley explained. I have worshippers? Michael was taken aback by the revelation. Yes. Somehow, some of your temples have managed to stand despite the Pantheon's influence, Marley said. Her limited knowledge of the previous Dark Lord and her confined access to the outer world of the realm of gods meant she wasn't familiar with the history of the previous god of darkness. Now that you're here, you'll likely start hearing prayers directed your way, Marley added. As Michael processed everything Marley had shared about the gods and the realm of gods, a thoughtful silence settled between them. But before you embark on your godly pursuits, I need your assistance to save my worshippers. Do we have a deal? Marley inquired. With a resigned sigh, Michael nodded. It's a deal. But to reach Nimboja, I still require your guidance to locate a divine portal, Michael stated. As I mentioned earlier, the nearest portal is in the Vikan Desert, within the Temple of Hayathi. Yet, reaching the portal won't be straightforward. But I have full faith in your abilities to locate it, Marley assured, causing a faint smile to grace Michael's lips. I can fight my way to the portal, but how am I supposed to ensure the safe passage of your worshippers through the same portal? Michael voiced his concern. Battling monsters and opponents was one thing, but safeguarding innocent lives was another matter entirely. That's something you don't need to worry about. Among my followers, there's an individual who possesses an artifact granted by me. This artifact enables her to utilize the portal within Nimboja to travel here. Locate her, and your task will be much simpler, Marley explained. Beneath her initial facade of a lustful deity, Michael was beginning to glimpse a compassionate and considerate goddess. Nithrol's counsel to seek Marla's assistance had proven wise. However, Michael sensed there might be a history shared between Nithrol and Marley, a story he felt wasn't appropriate to delve into at the moment. Rest now. You can set off for the Vikan Desert as soon as tomorrow, Marley suggested, her demeanor shifting. The warm and benevolent goddess he had seen earlier was replaced by her previous allure and desire towards him. Yet, Michael merely smiled and settled down on the ground. Would you like a view? Marley inquired playfully. With a wave of her hand, the canopy above them shifted, revealing a night sky adorned with countless stars. As Michael lay beneath the starry sky, his eyes closed, and he began drifting into slumber. Within his dreams, faint whispers grew louder, chanting, "May the god of darkness embrace us." He found himself in a shadowy realm, surrounded by figures cloaked in absorbing darkness. They encircled a powerful stone statue resembling him, in a room adorned with pulsating symbols. The chant intensified, summoning his godhood with reverence and longing. Michael felt a connection to these worshippers, united by an unseen thread. Gradually, the dream's edges blurred, figures fading, and the room contracting until only the chant remained. Then, like a fading whisper, the dream dissolved, leaving him in tranquil slumber. Amidst his dreams, Michael heard a persistent call, "Wake up," from Iag. The soft nudging of Vidora's heads against his face accompanied the summons. Gradually, the dream world gave way to the gentle embrace of reality. The morning greeted him with the melodic chirping of birds and the soothing caress of a calm breeze. As his eyelids fluttered open, he was met with the gentle warmth of the rising sun on his face. The world slowly came into focus, and his gaze met Vidora's watchful eyes fixed upon him. "You're awake," Michael heard Marla's voice and rose from the ground. Vidora swiftly hopped back onto Michael's shoulder, readying themselves for the journey to the Vikan Desert. "If you set out now, you should reach the Vikan Desert by nightfall. But wait at the desert's edge until sunrise before venturing further. In other words, avoid traveling through the desert during the night," Marley cautioned with a serious tone. "Why?" Iag inquired. "You'll understand once you witness the monsters that roam the desert at night," Marley replied succinctly. "But remember what I told you. Don't use your godly powers excessively. Itll alert the Pantheon. Rely on your swords in battle," Marley advised. "You mentioned these monsters can even devour a god. So how are we supposed to fight them with just swords?" Iag retorted, his tone laden with skepticism. "Figure it out, genius. Unless you want the Pantheon breathing down your neck, follow my advice," Marley retorted with a sly smirk. "I'll handle it," Michael interjected before an argument could ignite between Iag and Marley. "Good. Now go." Marley gestured for them to depart. N0 VE lose B. C0 Moss. Michael took a step forward. Marley lightly tapped her forehead and conjured a golden parchment with a flick of her wrist. "This parchment contains a map detailing the journey from here to the Vikan Desert. Use it wisely." Marley tossed the map to Michael, then moved forward to kiss him on the cheek. "Back off." Michael was taken aback as all three heads of Vidora, Kane, Sarba, and Iag, hissed at Marley in unison when she kissed him. "You're not getting close to Gaia's man," Iag hissed, their fierce loyalty to Gaia, Michael's wife, evident in their protective stance. "I'll catch up with you later." Michael brushed aside the confrontation and began ascending into the sky. As Michael ascended higher into the sky, Marla's figure gradually grew smaller and smaller, eventually blending into the landscape below. With a determined focus, Michael propelled himself forward, slicing through the air with newfound speed. The wind rushed past him, carrying the distant echoes of Marla's words and the memories of their conversation. Following the guidance of the map Marley had given him, Michael dashed forward through the vast expanse of the sky. His destination lay in the distant horizon, the treacherous Vikan Desert. The golden parchment in his hand provided a roadmap for his journey, outlining the twists and turns that would lead him to his destination. Beneath him, the forest he had spent the night in began to shrink, gradually fading from view as he soared higher. The once lush canopy gave way to the open sky, and the vibrant greenery vanished, leaving behind only the endless stretch of blue above and the earth below. After 2 days of continuous flight, the expanse of the Vikan Desert finally came into view beneath the darkened night sky. Michael's eyes fixed on the seemingly tranquil desert landscape on the horizon. The vast stretch of sand and dunes appeared deceptively calm from a distance, but a sense of unease began to creep in. "Does anyone else have a foreboding feeling about this desert?" Sarba's cautious question broke the silence as they approached the desert. Michael gradually reduced his speed, gliding closer to the desert's edge. The sand seemed to shift like a constantly moving canvas, with ripples and waves forming intricate patterns under the night sky. The air was cool and carried a hint of sand, a testament to the desert's harsh environment. The starlit sky stretched above, providing a stark contrast to the arid desert below. Despite its serene appearance, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this desert than met the eye. As he drew nearer, the sense of unease only deepened, reminding him that appearances could be deceiving. Approaching the desert's edge, Michael was suddenly confronted by an unimaginable sight. Emerging from the sands with a thunderous roar, a colossal creature reared its head, a nightmarish embodiment of terror. This behemoth resembled an immense centipede, its segmented body extending far into the desert. The moonlight illuminated its scales, casting an eerie glow across its hide. The creature's roar resonated through the silent desert, sending shivers down Michael's spine. Its sheer enormity left him feeling insignificant in its shadow. The centipede-like monster's scales shimmered like burnished metal under the starry sky, reflecting glimmers of moonlight. Each segment of its body was adorned with sharp, glistening spines that seemed capable of tearing through anything that dared to challenge it. Its many legs undulated with a disturbing fluidity as it moved, kicking up swirls of sand in its wake. The creature's eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, fixated on Michael and his companions as they hovered above the desert floor. The realization struck Michael with a jolt. This was undoubtedly the reason Marley had cautioned against traversing the desert at night. The monstrous centipede before them was a testament to the dangers within the seemingly tranquil landscape. What in the holy hell is that? Saba's voice trembled with shock. Chapter 1059 The Goddess of All Monsters Standing beside a withered tree at the desert's edge, Michael swiftly retrieved a handful of drones from his space ring. With a command, the drones whirred to life, taking flight and venturing into the depths of the desert. Their tiny forms buzzed against the strong desert winds, disappearing into the vast expanse to gather information. The recent encounter with the colossal centipede monster left Michael still reeling, his thoughts momentarily dazed by the sheer magnitude of the creature. It was the second time he had encountered such an immense monster, the first being the colossal bull within the demon's grave. Saba's voice crackled over the communication channel as he reported, "I can't detect any discernible energy radiation from that creature." Iag echoed the sentiment, adding, "Same here, there's nothing registering on my radar." Turning to the source of his guidance, Michael queried the system for assistance, his use of the system's abilities now more judicious considering his dwindling amount of badass points. He had spent a significant portion to arrive in the realm of gods. "Is there a way to gauge the power level of that monster?" he asked. The system's reply was immediate. The system can provide a device for power level estimation for a cost of 400,000 badass points. Michael weighed his options. "You can, but I want to assess if the creature is stronger than me or not." The system interjected with caution. While the system's main priority is your safety, engaging with a monster of that magnitude could trigger the use of your powers. It's advisable to avoid using them, as the Pantheon could detect you once they're activated. It's recommended to hold off on using your powers until you're more capable. Speaking of growing stronger, I need 2 more dark seeds to advance to level 3 godhood, correct? Michael inquired. That is correct, the system confirmed. The system outlined that to reach godhood level 3, Michael required 3 seeds of darkness, and 4 to attain level 4. Beyond level 5, his progression would involve specific tasks and locating potent artifacts, a relatively straightforward path compared to other gods, who often remain stagnant in their godhood level due to unattainable challenges. While Michael engaged in this internal conversation with the system, his attention was drawn to a curious sight. Within the desolate landscape, he spotted several cloaked figures stealthily taking cover amidst the ruins of a structure, concealed within the heart of the desert. Michael quickly zoomed in on the figures using the tablet he held in his hand. Vidora's multiple heads leaned in closer, examining the feed from the drones. "Desert dwellers?" Iag questioned, his tone laced with curiosity. "N0VE lose B. C0M, it appears so," Michael replied, his eyes fixed on the images. "Why would they be in a place like this?" Saba pondered aloud. Kane, another of Vidora's heads, chimed in with a more pressing concern. Perhaps the question should be how they're surviving the desert's monsters during the night. One of the figures within the drone feed broke away from the group, seemingly to relieve himself. Cloaked in robes that concealed their identities and goggles to shield their eyes from the abrasive sand, they moved with cautious familiarity. The man ventured outside the shelter of the ruin, his gaze inadvertently falling upon the colossal centipede monster, the Sand Emperor, seemingly drilling into the sand without much concern. "Are you sure this is the right place for the deal, Gadden? We've been waiting here for days, and I'm getting tired of this endless sand," the man muttered as he attended to his business. Listening intently to the conversation, Michael's curiosity deepened. The dialogue hinted at some kind of transaction, a deal in progress, and a mysterious artifact involved. The mention of angels that served gods, added a layer of complexity to the situation. "That's what Raynar's angel informed us. Once we secure the artifact, we're supposed to hand it over to the angel for payment," another man replied. "What comes next after that?" the man outside the ruin inquired. "I can't say for certain. Maybe Raynar's angels plan to use the artifact to eliminate Croner's angels and put an end to their ongoing conflict, the speaker responded, his annoyance at the situation evident. Ease up on the war, Gadon. Wars are profitable, especially when they're gods fighting each other, the man outside the ruin chuckled. Gadan's voice held a mixture of frustration and fear as he added, I know, but I despise dealing with those angels. They give me the creeps. Besides, they always choose death traps like this to conduct their business. The conversation among the figures left Michael with even more questions. The enigmatic artifact, the angels serving gods, and the intricate dynamics of their dealings intrigued him. I'm heading to Oceania after this mission, hoping Lord Ethos blesses me with a safe voyage to my homeland, Gadon mentioned, revealing his future plans. Michael's attention was riveted to the group as he continued to observe them through the drone's camera feed. A small, glimmering object caught his eye, hanging around their necks like a pendant. Hey, what's that glow? Kane inquired, his sharp sight picking up on the unusual radiance. Michael swiftly took control of the drone, guiding its mechanical arms to extend from its body. With focused intent, he directed the drone in a lightning-fast descent, deftly snatching the glowing object from around the man's neck. A shout of surprise erupted from the man who felt the sudden tug, his panic fueled by the sand-filled gusts of wind obscuring his vision. Unaware of the drone's presence, he scrambled in confusion. Gadon, I lost the protection! The man cried out, his voice a mix of panic and shock. The group sprang into action, spurred by the urgency in their comrade's voice. What? Gadan's exclamation was a mix of disbelief and concern. HL. The man's plea was abruptly silenced, a chilling scene unfolding before Michael's eyes. Through the drone's lens, he witnessed the colossal Sand Emperor surge from the desert floor, obliterating the ruin in its path. The unfortunate man who had lost his protection charm was consumed by the Sand Emperor's gaping maw, and the structure crumbled as the beast emerged. The Sand Emperor's roars reverberated through the air as it plunged back into the sand, only to erupt forth once more in a relentless sequence. The ruin's remnants were devoured, and the beast's tumultuous movements created a swirling vortex of sand, a testament to its wrath. Alarmed by the unfolding chaos, Michael skillfully maneuvered the drone away from the Sand Emperor's fury, ensuring its safety. Unbelievable! Iag gasped, his astonishment evident. They were relying on that charm for protection from the monster, Saba deduced, understanding the significance of the glowing pendant. A touch of empathy welled up within Michael as he mused. I can't help but feel a bit sorry for them. Iag's response was more callous, reflecting his perspective. Nah. Seems like these guys were bandits of this world. In my opinion, we just did this realm a favor. With the drone safely back in his control, Michael inspected the retrieved item closely. Suspended from the silver chain was a pendant fashioned in the shape of an eagle, its intricacies catching the light. I'm sensing strong energy radiation from this pendant, Saba remarked. System, scan this pendant, Michael instructed the system. The system is unable to complete the task without the purchase of a skill for artifact analysis, costing 500,000 badass points. The system replied. Buy it, Michael decided promptly. In this new world without Gaia or Lord information, he needed the skill for artifact analysis. A pang of discomfort surged through his brain as the new skill, Analyzer Utility Function, was etched into his consciousness. Congratulations to the host for acquiring Analyzer Utility Function. Scanning initiated. A peculiar dark mist enveloped the pendant's chain, visible only to Michael's eyes. The item is a custom-made pendant containing a trace amount of grace. It possesses the capability to generate a protective barrier around the wearer, specifically effective against monsters and certain creatures in specific biomes. The system conveyed after analyzing the item. With this information, Michael tapped his armor twice, revealing a small compartment. Carefully, he placed the chain within the compartment, securing it around his neck. He wanted to avoid the risk of losing the pendant to an unexpected encounter, which could trigger the Sand Emperor's attention. What on earth are you up to? Iag questioned. This pendant seems to have the power to ward off the Sand Emperor, Michael answered. Stepping forward, he prepared to ascend into the sky, but his intentions were promptly thwarted by Iag and Saba. Wait. First, are you sure? Second, don't we need it? Iag interjected, expressing his concerns. Let's put it to the test, Michael responded with a chuckle, though his antics prompted Vidora's protests. Bastard, don't toy with our lives. Ayag chastised, quickly lowering her voice to a whisper, fearful that their words might carry to the Sand Emperor's ears. With the reassurance of the protective barrier from the pendant, Michael confidently pressed forward, his armor now concealed beneath a long brown coat and jacket. Vidora nestled safely within his inner robe pocket. Whoever crafted this chain must possess considerable power. Even Marley wasn't aware of its capabilities, Michael whispered to Vidora. Shoo, keep your voice down, Saga cautioned. Michael's teasing continued, aimed at Vidora's caution. Look at you three, a mighty hydra cowering in fear of a centipede. We're not at full power yet, you jerk. We're not foolish enough to take on such a colossal monster, Ayag retorted with a growl. Enough complaining, Ayag. This item envelopes me in a barrier, protecting us from the Sand Emperor's senses, Michael explained. As he soared through the sky, Michael observed the Sand Emperor repeatedly emerging from the desert's depths and retreating back into the sand. Its presence remained oblivious to Michael, just as the system scan had predicted. During his flight, he noticed a marble temple rising from the desert. What's that? Ayag peered out, spotting the temple. Could that be where the divine portal is? Sarba questioned. Unless the map's wrong, this isn't where the divine portal should be, Michael replied. We should investigate inside, Ayag suggested to Michael. Why not? Michael shrugged, redirecting his course toward the temple. Within minutes, Michael reached the temple's entrance and stepped inside cautiously. As he ventured further, his attention was captivated by a statue portraying a figure with the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a serpent. Gazing at the statue's face, Michael found himself stunned. Gaia, he uttered in disbelief, having no idea that he had stumbled upon the temple of Gaia, the goddess of all monsters. Chapter 1060. Someone from Earth? All right, that statue does resemble Gaia, but what kind of temple is this? Ayag asked, his curiosity piqued by the statue's likeness to the goddess. With cautious steps, Michael entered the temple, taking in the flickering candlelight that cast an eerie glow over the space. Despite the darkness, the temple appeared immaculately maintained. Who leaves flowers here? Michael mused aloud, plucking a lotus blossom from where it lay at the statue's feet. Search the area, see if we can find any information about this temple, Kane suggested, Vidora's three heads swiveling to scan the surroundings. Over there, Saba suddenly pointed out, his gaze fixed on a wooden plank affixed to the temple wall. Curious, Michael approached the plank and read its inscription aloud, his surprise evident in his tone. This is the temple of the goddess of all monsters. Pray to her for great goddess Gaia's protection from all monsters. It seems the previous Gaia had her temples scattered across this realm, Michael speculated. As he spoke, Michael activated his X-ray vision, scanning the temple for concealed doors or mechanisms. During his search, he noticed a small recess at the base of the statue. Returning to where he had plucked the flower, he squatted down. Michael pressed his hand onto the statue's base, seeking some hidden mechanism or reaction. Ayag, Sarba, and Kane observed with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. What's your plan? Ayag inquired. I sense something inside, Michael replied, his tone indicating his focus. Then break it open, Ayag suggested matter-of-factly. When has that ever worked? Saba chimed in, his tone slightly exasperated. Taking a closer look, Michael discovered a small hole in the statue's base. The hole was almost concealed beneath accumulated sand and dust. After blowing away the debris, he carefully inserted his finger into the opening. Sticking your finger into an unknown hole. Great idea, Ayag quipped sarcastically. Amid the banter, Michael suddenly let out a shout. Ouch! Ayag's eyes widened in surprise, almost jumping at the sudden exclamation. But her shock turned into annoyance as she realized Michael was laughing at her reaction. Why are you being such a jerk? She growled, angrily nipping at Michael's ear. However, Michael's laughter subsided as he felt a sharp sting on his finger, akin to a needle prick. A drop of his blood fell into the opening, prompting a slight tremor beneath the statue. A portion of the ground slid aside, revealing a worn parchment. What's this? Michael wondered, brushing away the dust before carefully unfolding the parchment. If you're reading this letter, you've stumbled upon one of the hidden letters we placed in the temples of Gaia. We must confess, this is just an elaborate prank. We were dreadfully bored while constructing this temple, so we decided to amuse ourselves by creating a secret chamber and leaving this note. There are more of our letters scattered throughout the realm. Collect them all, and you'll have quite the tale to tell. Cheers. Michael read aloud, his voice a mix of disbelief and amusement. As Michael finished reading the letter, Ayag's frustration was palpable in her words. Seriously, everyone in this world seems like an asshole or a jerk. What a waste of time. I actually thought we'd find something meaningful here, Ayag grumbled in annoyance. Meanwhile, Vidora noticed Michael's unwavering gaze on the letter. His brows furrowed in thought. He seems to have found something we didn't, observed Sarba, waiting for Michael to explain. Michael's attention was fixed on the letter as he spoke up, revealing his findings. This letter, it's made to look ancient, but it isn't. It was placed here about 3 years ago, give or take, Michael revealed after analyzing the letter with his newly acquired skill. What's even more intriguing is that this letter contains Morse code, Michael continued. What's Morse code? Ayag inquired. It's a method of communication that uses combinations of dots and dashes to represent letters, numbers, and symbols. Dots are short signals, while dashes are longer ones. Each character is encoded using a unique combination of these dots and dashes, forming a message. Kane explained the concept, his knowledge surprising both Ayag and Sarba. Where did you learn this? Sarba asked Kane. During the time you two were asleep, arguing about who would win in a fight between Trista and Lenora, Kane shared with a hint of amusement. You're such a nerd, Ayag couldn't help but chuckle. Okay, so you're saying there might be a hidden message in this? If so, what does it say? Sarba redirected the conversation before it could turn into another Ayag-Kane banter. It decodes to get to the God of Darkness temple in Misty Swamp. Michael unveiled the true message hidden within the code. Unless someone suddenly became a Morse code expert in this world, the person who left this message is likely from Earth. Michael's tone turned serious. While he had met Hunter from Earth, he was in a different universe entirely, and he wasn't one to leave cryptic messages. Let's focus on rescuing Marlis worshippers first, and then we can head to the Misty Swamp, Michael concluded, rising to his feet, ready to leave the temple. Just as Michael was about to step outside the temple, a sudden rush of 5 men entered, catching his attention. These newcomers were dwarves, characterized by their stocky builds, long beards, and battle axes slung across their backs. Look who we've got here, announced the leading dwarf, his face adorned with a scar that ran across his cheek. He pointed a grubby finger in Michael's direction. Michael surveyed them, his gaze lingering on the protective chains around their necks. He couldn't help but notice the familiarity of those chains. Have we crossed paths before? Michael inquired, though his eyes betrayed a hint of wariness. Never met, but you sure managed to make someone real mad. They put quite the bounty on your head, growled the dwarf leader, his tone oozing hostility. Michael was taken aback. After all, he had only arrived in this world a day ago. Trust me, I'd know if I'd made someone that mad. I think you've got the wrong guy, Michael calmly responded, seeking to defuse the situation. Nah, we're pretty sure. You're a human, not exactly easy on the eyes, and you've got a Hydra as your buddy, the leader dwarf chuckled. Hey, there you go, admitting I'm not ugly, Michael quipped. Wait, are you guys not surprised to see a Hydra? Ayag interjected, her voice tinged with confusion. Not really. We've seen those scholar types bring back all sorts of endangered species. Another dwarf who wore glasses chimed in matter-of-factly. N0 Velisp. C0M bring back? Ayag's astonishment was palpable, yet the thought of someone attempting to artificially create her noble race stirred both hope and anger within her. Listen, dwarves, I'm not really in the mood for games right now. Normally, I might just give you a good beating because you all look kinda cute. But today, I'm in the mood for some bloodshed. So tell me who put that bounty on my head and get out of my sight, Michael issued his ultimatum, granting the dwarves an opportunity to retreat, even though he suspected they wouldn't take it. In their eyes, Michael didn't exude the aura of a god, thanks to Nithrol's medallion he wore. Seeing Michael as an easy target, the dwarves believed they could overpower and eliminate him without much effort. Did you just call us cute? Another dwarf bellowed, fueled by anger. My apologies for my friend's rudeness. Instead of cute, he should have used the term motherfucking ugly, Ayag retorted, her words striking a nerve and igniting the dwarf's fury. You're going to regret this, creature. Well, cut you down and feed your remains to the monsters out there, the leader dwarf threatened, his voice dripping with malice. Wow, that's your best retort? You might want to work on your comebacks. Learning is growing up, Saga mocked, clearly unimpressed. That's ice cold. Growing up, he says. Ha ha ha. Iag erupted in laughter, taunting the dwarves for their stature. Kill them. The dwarves, unable to contain their rage any longer, charged at Michael with their battle axes raised high. Yet, as the leader dwarf closed in, Michael remained composed. With a deliberate motion, he activated the potion-spraying mechanism on his palm, releasing a paralyzing mist into the air. The leader dwarf unwittingly inhaled the mist and promptly froze in place, collapsing to the ground like a lifeless statue. Rendering the dwarves immobile one by one. With the dwarves now paralyzed, Michael approached Dogu, the Dogu. The other dwarves cried out, but their cries fell on deaf ears. Michael continued to disperse the paralyzing potion into the air, rendering the dwarves immobile one by one. With the dwarves now paralyzed, Michael approached Dogu, the leader of the group, and effortlessly lifted him by the neck. The dwarf was powerless to move, save for his eyes. Securing Dogu in one hand, Michael's other hand extended, a needle emerging from his palm. The needle found its mark in the dwarf's mouth, injecting an antidote that would restore his ability to speak, albeit temporarily. What the heck did you do? The dwarf's voice was a mixture of rage and astonishment. I'll be the one asking questions here. If you don't answer, I'll remove this. Michael's fingers played with the silver chain, his tone resolute. No, 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 please. The dwarf's panic was palpable. He understood that removing the chain would expose them to the Sand Emperor's danger. Who placed the bounty on my head? Michael's inquiry was sharp. How would we know? We just came across a poster with your description and whereabouts, the dwarf responded. Where did you come across this poster? Michael probed further. Birmian City, came the dwarf's answer. Where's that? Iag's voice chimed in. The dwarf appeared somewhat bewildered by the question. After all, Birmian City was the sole settlement in the Vikan Desert. It stood at the desert's edge, safeguarded from the monster-infested regions. North from here, the dwarf replied. While Michael continued his questioning, his sharp eyes caught a glimmer on one of the buttons adorning the dwarf's leather armor. Picking up the button, he discerned tiny, nearly invisible runes etched onto it. A hidden camera? Michael's surprise was evident. Once again, he was caught off guard by the presence of concealed surveillance. Lifting the button to his face, he addressed the camera directly. To whoever's watching, know this. I'm coming for you. With that, he crushed the camera, his analyzer confirming that the feed source couldn't be traced. Chapter 1061 Angels of the Gods. What are you gonna do? Dogu, the dwarf leader, questioned Michael, his tone a mix of defiance and curiosity. Michael offered no response to Dogu's inquiry. Instead, he unceremoniously tossed the dwarf outside, treating the others with similar disdain, kicking them out of the temple as if they were inanimate objects. They landed in the sand outside the temple with a dull thud, their immobilized bodies barely able to react. As Michael emerged from the temple, he stretched his neck audibly, preparing for what came next. You bastard! Give us the antidote! Dogu's shout resonated, but Michael continued his course of action, tying the paralyzed dwarves together with swift and precise movements. Do you like flying? Michael inquired of Dogu, his words dripping with irony as the other dwarves struggled helplessly. All they could do was move their eyes, a stark contrast to the fluidity of Michael's movements. What the fuck are you talking about? The dwarf leader snapped, but before he could process it, he found himself lifted into the sky, tethered to the others. Shit! The scream escaped Dogu's lips in a high-pitched frenzy. The moment Michael nearly brushed the clouds, he released the rope that held the dwarves, leaving them to plummet. As they fell, the wind rushed against their faces. Dogu's cries filled the air, while the others could only experience the impending dread. Their lack of the protective chain became evident, and the inevitable outcome was clear. Michael, having distanced himself, witnessed the Sand Emperor emerge from the desert, its massive jaws devouring the diminutive figures. Let's move, Michael declared calmly after the Sand Emperor had burrowed back into the dunes. Is Birmian City marked on the map? Iag inquired. No, but it's on our route to the divine portals, Michael replied, his gaze fixed on the map as he spoke. Eventually, Burmian City came into view on the horizon. The city was an extraordinary sight, nestled amidst the desert landscape. Its buildings were constructed from sand itself, an awe-inspiring example of melding architecture with the environment. Sand walls encircled the city, blending with the natural terrain, offering protection against the harsh desert winds. Torches flickered, casting a warm glow that danced across the sandy streets, illuminating the night as Michael approached. "We should touch down and proceed on foot," Vidora advised before curling into Michael's coat pocket. "We really need to find a solution for your appearance." "I'll have to remember to brew a transformation potion for you," Michael remarked as he gently landed on the sandy ground. "I'm curious about what those dwarves said. Creating our species artificially? How is that even possible?" Iag inquired, seeking Michael's thoughts. Given the right resources, knowledge, and time, almost anything can be achieved. "We'll look into it later. For now, let's spend the night in the city, gather information about this realm, and then head towards the divine portals," Michael decided as he set off towards the city. Walking the path to the city, Michael was taken aback by the absence of guards, a surprise in itself. As he stepped inside, he noticed the bustling activity that unfolded before him, yet oddly, not a single guard crossed his path. The city of Burmian sprawled before Michael, an intricate tapestry woven with sand and stone. Its buildings rose from the desert, constructed not from conventional materials but from the very sand beneath his feet. The structures blended with the environment, a testament to the resilience of the city's inhabitants. As Michael walked through the bustling streets, conversations reached his ears, snippets of discussions that painted a clearer picture of this realm. "Did you hear the latest news about the war between Raynar and Croner?" One person in the crowd asked another, their voices filled with a mix of curiosity and concern. "Yeah, it's been escalating. Some say Raynar's forces managed to secure another territory," the second person replied, shaking their head. "And what about the worshippers of Agra?" A third voice chimed in, worry etched in their tone. "I heard they're preying on those fleeing the war. People trying to escape are being killed or robbed." "True. It's becoming a nightmare. Those Agra worshippers believe that the chaos from the war feeds their god's power," the first person said, their voice tinged with fear. In the bustling streets, Michael's ears caught fragments of conversations drifting through the air. Seeking guidance, he approached a local resident and inquired, "Excuse me, could you point me to a place where I could stay for the night, perhaps a tavern?" "Sure thing," the man replied, gesturing ahead. "Just head straight and take the first left. You can't miss the Sand Castle Tavern." Following the given directions, Michael found himself walking alongside a small group of people who were headed in the same direction. As he turned at the indicated corner, a distinctive cone-shaped structure loomed into view, crafted from sand and crowned with a wooden sign that read Sand Castle. Entering the tavern, Michael was enveloped by its warm atmosphere. The interior was adorned with an array of candle holders and torches that cast a gentle glow across the room. The air was thick with the scent of ale and the sound of animated chatter filled the space. Amidst the lively crowd, Michael was drawn to an empty seat next to a hooded man. Michael settled into the vacant seat and promptly caught the attention of a red-haired young waiter despite the bustling surroundings. "What can I get you?" "Our special tonight is roasted lamb chops with freshly brewed ale," the waiter offered. "I'll take the special," Michael replied, prompting a nod from the young man before he disappeared into the crowd. Amidst the hubbub of conversation, Michael overheard snippets discussing the ongoing war and its toll on the realm. A particularly vocal drunkard complained about the escalation, while another cautioned against speaking ill of the Pantheon. Others joined in, expressing their collective desire for the conflict to end, blaming the Agra worshippers for profiting from the chaos. As the topic turned to Agra worshippers, Michael mentally noted their apparent role in the realm's strife. While listening, he received his mug of ale from the young man, who informed him that his food would follow shortly. "Thank you," Michael acknowledged, his gaze remaining on the scene. Suddenly, his expression shifted to a frown as he sensed a formidable presence coalescing around the tavern through his environmental awareness. These powerful entities were closing in from all directions with astonishing speed. Suddenly, before anyone could react, the wooden door exploded into splinters as a group of men clad in gleaming white armor burst into the tavern. Their entrance was accompanied by the cacophony of gunshots, as they ordered everyone to freeze. N0VE lose B. C0M, nobody move. Stay where you are. One of the armored men shouted. his voice sharp and commanding. The patrons inside the tavern were shocked by the abrupt intrusion, their initial chatter giving way to startled shouts. "Angels!" Someone yelled in disbelief. The group of intruders, unmistakably angels by their appearance, acted with swift authority. They pointed their weapons at the bewildered crowd, forcing them to drop to their knees in submission. Fear and panic were palpable in the air as people complied, their faces etched with terror. Michael's gaze locked onto the angels, taking in the feathery wings on their backs and the gleam of silver swords hanging at their waists. Their imposing presence and the gleaming armor marked them as formidable beings, and he remained still in his seat, carefully observing the unfolding scene while keeping his own abilities concealed. As the tense minutes passed, one of the angels approached Michael's table. With a stern expression, the angel forcefully pushed him and the man seated beside him to the ground, their bodies ending up on their knees. The pressure of the angel's hand on his shoulder was firm, leaving no room for resistance. Gradually, the scene repeated throughout the tavern, with the patrons being forced to kneel under the watchful eyes of the angels. Michael observed as the once lively atmosphere turned into one of complete submission. Fear was evident in the eyes of the people, who avoided making direct eye contact with the celestial beings that had invaded their space. Whispers of prayers and muted sobs filled the air as the angels established their dominance over the establishment. Michael remained vigilant, his instincts telling him that this encounter might have something to do with the events in the realm, possibly connected to the war between Raynar and Cronar. After a tense silence, a figure clad in resplendent white armor entered the tavern, his heavy footfalls resounding like ominous drumbeats. The angel's golden wings marked him as distinct, and upon his arrival, the other angels snapped to attention, standing rigidly in his presence. "It has come to my attention that an Agra worshipper dwells among you," the angel with the glistening wings addressed the terrified patrons. His voice was measured, but an underlying current of deadly intent laced his words. The tavern's occupants exchanged fearful glances and hushed whispers at the angel's pronouncement. "Reveal the offender now, or all shall suffer the consequences. 100 innocent lives may be sacrificed, but not a single Agra worshipper shall escape retribution," the angel declared without any compassion. "If this world seems harsh, brace yourself for the realm of gods." "There, things are far worse," echoed Nithrol's warning in Michael's thoughts. He kept his head lowered, concealing his godly identity. As his eyes flicked upward, he noticed the angel's gaze fixated on him. To Michael's dismay, the angel steadily advanced toward him. "There's a scent of impending death here," the golden-winged angel remarked, inhaling deeply as if savoring the air around Michael. A chuckle escaped the angel's lips, and he leaned in closer to Michael. "Ah, what do we have here? Word has it that you're bound for the divine portal. But do you think you can slip away unnoticed?" The angel's question dripped with taunting amusement as he unsheathed his sword with deliberate slowness. Internally sighing, Michael was utterly perplexed, unable to fathom how the angel had deduced his intentions. Suspicion even brushed against Marley, but he found it difficult to believe that she could have betrayed him. Chapter 1062 Smiting the Angels. The leader angel's demand hung heavily in the tense air, causing the tavern's patrons to shrink back in fear and silence. None dared to utter a word. With measured precision, the angel positioned his sword menacingly between Michael and the customer seated next to him. Michael's thoughts raced as he grappled with the angel's words. "What is he talking about?" he muttered to himself, bewildered by the situation. "Reveal the portal's location and I shall grant you swift death," the leading angel commanded. Michael's heavy sigh underscored his mounting frustration. He had hoped to find the divine portals, but this encounter revealed that the situation was far more complex. Someone had indeed concealed the portals, likely the very Agra worshipper this angel sought. Michael's mind raced to understand the how and why of it. The angel's voice grew sterner. "No answer, then?" He looked piercingly at Michael. A golden light began to envelop the angel's sword, and Michael braced himself for the confrontation. He intended to defend himself and counterattack, though he knew it would complicate his plan to gather more knowledge before engaging in battles. Unexpectedly, the hooded figure at Michael's side sprang into action, his voice an exasperated growl. A crimson-red beam shot forth, striking the angel's chest and sending him hurtling through the crowd. The turn of events surprised Michael, as the other angels scrambled to respond. "Kill the Agra worshipper!" they cried in unison, launching themselves toward the hooded figure. "Come with me if you want to live," the hooded figure's voice resonated in Michael's mind. As the other angels closed in from all sides, The hooded figure deftly retrieved an object from his pocket, tossing it to the ground. The resulting explosion enveloped them in a thick red smoke. Within the swirling haze, a hand landed on Michael's shoulder, and the world around him seemed to warp and twist. In the span of an instant, the tavern scene and its cacophony vanished, replaced by the barren desert as Michael found himself alongside the hooded figure. A puzzled furrow settled on Michael's brow. Did he just pull us into his mess? Iag's voice, emanating from Michael's pocket, was tinged with concern. Michael wasted no time. "Who are you?" he inquired. The hooded figure gradually revealed himself, fiery red hair cascading from beneath the hood, and crimson eyes locking onto Michael's gaze. A small flame mark adorned his forehead, marking his allegiance to the god Agra. But the figure wasn't done. "The real question is, who are you?" he retorted. Michael maintained his composure as the hooded individual pressed on. "Your reaction to the angel's sword was intriguing. Or rather, your lack of reaction. Only a seasoned killer would face that sword without fear. It's a rarity in this world. You didn't even flinch. So who are you?" The figure's keen observation skills took Michael aback. "I might just be someone who didn't want to be caught in your troubles," Michael shot back, folding his arms. The figure shook his head. "No, you're someone in search of the divine portals. Your curiosity was evident when the angel mentioned them. The glimmer in your eyes gave you away." The depth of the figure's insight left Michael genuinely surprised. "We can be allies," the Agra worshipper suggested. N0 C0M. Michael's skepticism was palpable. "And why should I believe you can be of any assistance, let alone that I'd willingly step into your mess with the angels?" he countered. "Because there's something different about you," the Agra worshipper replied. Before Michael could reply, he sensed a distortion in the air around him. "They're coming," Saba whispered through their mental link, detecting an impending teleportation. True to Sarba's premonition, a portal materialized next to Michael and the Agra worshipper. The cerulean whirlpool shimmered as the angels who had stormed the tavern emerged from its depths. An Agra worshipper and his follower, the lead angel sneered, the mask and helmet still obscuring his face, though his contempt for the worshipper was evident. "You didn't strike me as the devotee of such a vile god," the lead angel remarked, his gaze shifting to Michael. "Because I'm not," Michael replied calmly. "Intriguing," the angel mused, stroking his chin. He then redirected his attention back to the red-haired Agra worshipper. The angels behind the leader sprang into motion, materializing behind Michael and the Agra worshipper. Swift kicks to their knees forced both of them down onto the sand, rendering them defenseless. "Your feeble attempt to evade us is laughable. A mere teleportation portal won't shield you from our grasp. It wounds me that you believed you could elude us," the lead angel sneered as he approached the Agra worshipper, delivering a resounding slap across his face. "Theo, we shall escort these two to His Grace Raynar's temple and purify their souls," another angel, firmly gripping the Agra worshipper's shoulder, suggested. "Agreed. However, we must first extract the whereabouts of the divine portals from him. His Grace desires their location." Theo, the lead angel, concurred. "I won't utter a word," the Agra worshipper retorted defiantly. "Yes, I am aware. Followers of Agra can withstand any torment inflicted upon them, a unique trait of serving that vile god. But what about your companion here?" Theo's gaze shifted to Michael, his tone calculated. "I've never seen him before in my life," Michael maintained, irritation simmering beneath his surface due to the angels and the Agra worshipper. "Stay strong, buddy. We'll get through this." "Don't let these jerks intimidate you," the Agra worshipper reassured Michael, employing a cunning ploy to mislead the angels into believing they were allies. "Unbelievable," Iag hissed, her vexation evident. Michael caught onto the Agra worshipper's ruse and his sly grin, but when Theo turned his attention back to Michael, the grin faded, replaced by a counterfeit rage. "Don't you dare lay a finger on him," the Agra worshipper erupted. Theo's facade shifted from anger to amusement with a devilish chuckle. "Which part of your friend do you cherish most?" "Personally, I'm quite fond of cutting what lies between his legs. But let's begin with his fingers," he remarked, exuding a sinister demeanor. "Take a look at him. Does he really seem like my friend?" Michael interjected, realizing the crafty maneuver the Agra worshipper was attempting. As Theo turned to scrutinize Michael, the smile melted away, quickly replaced by a veneer of faux anger. "Don't think for a second you can manipulate us," Theo hissed under his breath. Fucking idiots, Ayag whispered, her frustration palpable. Theo advanced slowly toward Michael, while the angel behind him seized Michael's hand and elevated it. Agra is watching all of this, you bastard. He will come to my aid. Remember the might of the god Agra. The Agra worshipper exclaimed defiantly. No, he won't, the angel retorted, producing a golden orb with a deft motion. With a toss, the orb settled onto the sandy ground, forming a shimmering golden dome around them. You're now severed from teleportation and barred from utilizing any powers granted by your loathsome god. Agra can offer you nothing, Theo taunted. In truth, no deity can provide refuge, Theo added with a mocking laugh. Meanwhile, Michael hastily instructed his analyzer to evaluate the golden orb. This item is an energy disruptor. It will obstruct all surveillance and halt energy flow through its barrier. It can also conceal your divine aura if you choose to employ your powers. However, this item has a one-time use limit, the system analyzer conveyed to Michael. Unbeknownst to the angels and Theo, they had unwittingly encased themselves with a god. Their intention was to isolate the Agra worshipper and thwart any intervention from the deity Agra. We shall commence with his pinky, savoring the process, Theo remarked, positioning a dagger over Michael's pinky finger. I always seem to find myself in trouble when I attempt to avoid it, Michael sighed. Theo was taken aback, expecting Michael to scream and plead for help. Instead, Michael appeared composed and sighed. Just so you know, I was being truthful. I had never met him before, Michael stated calmly. Stay strong, brother, the Agra worshipper shouted, maintaining the pretense of camaraderie between himself and Michael. You don't need to pretend any longer, Michael remarked. I've had enough of this, Theo snickered, thrusting his dagger at Michael's pinky. However, the dagger chipped upon, failing to pierce Michael's skin. The angels and Theo were stunned. But before they could react, the golden dome began to darken. What in the hell? The angel restraining Michael grumbled as Michael defied the force on his shoulder, rising to his feet despite the angel's efforts. In an instant, Michael seized Theo by the neck, crushing it and shattering Theos' metal mask. But before Michael could finish Theo, the two angels behind him attempted to stab him with their holy swords. Swiftly, Michael hurled Theo aside and evaded the attacking angels. With fluid motion, he drew two dark swords from behind and severed the angels' hands in a matter of seconds, causing them to scream in agony. Without hesitation, Michael lunged forward, beheading the angels. Disregarding the system notifications, he dispatched the two celestial beings in the blink of an eye. As Michael turned, blood splattered across his face, leaving an ominous stain. The Agra worshipper and Theo finally comprehended that Michael was neither a mere killer nor a mortal, but a god. You're a god. Theo mumbled in absolute shock. The remaining four angels promptly materialized behind Theo, positioning themselves against Michael. They released the Agra worshipper from their grip, recognizing the greater threat at hand. I thought angels were supposed to embody goodness and kindness, Michael snickered, using his wrist to wipe the blood off his face. Guess I was mistaken, Michael commented. How can a god be present here? What god are you? Theos' voice rang out. That's a question whose answer you won't discover in this lifetime, Michael responded calmly. Simultaneously, within the golden dome, darkness engulfed the space, rendering it pitch black. The Agra worshipper inched away, horrified by the angel screams and the cacophony of blades slicing through both metal and flesh. The sickening sounds of blood spraying and the metallic tang of the scent filled the air, overwhelming his senses. Chapter 1063 Cultivation Realms. In the realm of gods. As the darkness within the golden dome dissipated, the Agra worshipper gazed at Michael with a mixture of fear and shock in his eyes. He realized something was off about the man, but the revelation that he was a god caught him entirely off guard. Now that you've dragged me into your mess, are you going to tell me where to find the divine portals? Michael inquired calmly, moving toward the Agra worshipper, whose attention was fixed on the lifeless forms of the decapitated angels. We never properly introduced ourselves. Let's start with your name, Michael proposed, extending his hand to help the Agra worshipper to his feet. Despite his astonishment, Darth grabbed the god's hand and stood up. I am Darth, the Agra worshipper replied. I am Ghost, and your continued existence hinges on your discretion regarding what transpired here, Michael stated to Darth with a reassuring smile. An unsettling shiver ran down Darth's spine in response. Now, Shall we head to where you've concealed the divine portals before more angels appear? Michael queried. Observing the fading flicker of the golden dome, he knew its effects were about to wane. Accordingly, he directed his hand outward, unleashing a stream of dark flames that swiftly reduced the angels to ashes. Darth felt the temperature surge dramatically, causing him to break into a sweat. The bodies were soon reduced to ash, and the temperature normalized once the dark flames subsided. Darth nodded, rendered nearly speechless by the presence of such a formidable god. As the dome's remnants vanished entirely, Michael began to walk away from the scene, and Darth followed by his side. I never anticipated that the goddess of luck, Fortuna, would come to my aid by sending a god, Darth confided as they walked. So, you used to be a worshipper of Agra, Michael remarked, seeking to delve deeper into Darth's knowledge of the world. I was, but I'm out of that game now. I'm a drifter, unbound to any god, Darth revealed. That sounds like quite a situation. So, what's your plan? Considering the angels won't leave you be, and it seems Agra won't be rushing to your aid anytime soon, Michael continued the conversation, adopting a guise of someone familiar with the world. Darth had knowledge about the world's workings, and Michael needed to gather more insights from him. I'm heading to the infinite ocean. The divine portals will serve as my means to get there. I can escape this wretched place and live out the rest of my days on the ocean, fulfilling a dream of mine, Darth explained. But if the angels believed you found and concealed the divine portals, why didn't you use them to leave instead of returning to Birmian City? Michael inquired. I needed to say my farewells to someone I hold dear. With that done, I can depart this realm in peace, sighed Darth. Your journey would have been a lot less peaceful if you hadn't crossed paths with me, Michael retorted with a smirk. True, fortune has shown me favor, Darth replied. However, luck won't suffice to keep you safe unless you reveal the location of the hidden portals. I need them to reach Nimbosia, Michael stated firmly. You can use them to reach your desired destination. I wish you luck. You'll need it once the Pantheon catches wind of a rogue god wandering about, Darth said as they continued their journey across the desert. You managed to kill Raynar's angels, but don't underestimate the ones the Pantheon will send. They'll be far more formidable, each at or above the elemental attunement realm, Darth warned. Michael mentally noted the cultivation realm levels of the angels and used this as an opportunity to learn more about the hierarchy of power in this world. He recognized that in this world, no matter how advanced the mortals' cultivation, they paled in comparison to the gods. Still, the cultivation realms of the angels determined their capacity to withstand a god's power. For example, only higher-level angels could survive merging their energy with their patron god's trace of grace. In this case, Theo was at the spiritual embryo realm, where cultivators form a spiritual embryo within their dantian, a seed of potential power. This level was the third in a 9-tiered cultivation hierarchy. Therefore, Theo could only endure a level 3 god's trace of grace. In essence, the angels' cultivation realm determined their ability to absorb and withstand a god's grace. Could you refresh my memory on your mortals' cultivation realms? Michael inquired, pretending ignorance while secretly seeking more insight. Darth, sensing something peculiar about the god beside him, no longer attempted to manipulate the situation. We have the initiate realm, chi awakening realm, spiritual embryo realm, elemental attunement realm, celestial resonance realm, soul ignition realm, ethereal fusion realm, void transcendence realm, and divine ascendancy realm, Darth listed. Michael mentally catalogued this information about the realm hierarchy for the inhabitants of this world. In truth, only a select few devout worshippers or those favored by the gods could even achieve the initiate realm. The majority of the population remained powerless, and some who had reached the celestial stage in the mortal realm, upon ascending, were stripped of their powers and memories, reborn as mere weaklings. As Michael continued walking, he recalled the words Marley had shared with him regarding the hierarchy of godhood in the realm of gods. The stages are fledgling god, demigod, celestial god, ethereal god, astral god, elder god, primordial god, transcendent god, and ancient god. Though it's said that the ancient god level has become a myth, as no one, not even the gods of the Pantheon, has managed to reach that pinnacle. As we approach the portals, we can part ways, Darth stated, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. Have you been to Nimbosia? Michael inquired of Darth. Yeah, a couple of times. It's a mess up there. Since you don't seem to be in the Pantheon, I'd advise against going there. Raynar can be even crazier than Agra at times. I genuinely feel sorry for the people under the rule of the god of rain, Darth sighed, showing his empathy for those under the dominion of Raynar. Curiosity was piqued. Isn't it obvious? You just took down Raynar's angels. Angels of a, why do you assume I'm not from the pantheon? Michael's curiosity was piqued. Isn't it obvious? You just took down Raynar's angels. Angels of a pantheon god. It's rare for anyone in the pantheon to kill another god's angels. Angels from one god killing those of another has happened, but gods directly killing angels of another god? That's not something I've heard of, Darth explained. As Michael and Darth continued their journey towards the divine portals, Michael gained more insights into the realm of gods from Darth's perspective. However, Darth was unaware of the peculiar phenomenon preventing gods from venturing outside their domains, a topic Michael was keen to explore. N0VELU-SB. C0M, if you don't mind my asking, why are you heading to Nimbosia? Inquired Darth. I'm taking a vacation and exploring the world, Michael responded with a wry smile. Darth realized that Michael wouldn't reveal his true purpose for visiting Nimbosia. He had no interest in anything beyond getting rid of Theo and his angels. Now that they were out of the picture, Darth's focus was on reaching the infinite ocean and starting anew there. What if Agra sends his angels to punish you for abandoning your devotion to him? Michael asked, probing the consequences of forsaking a god's worship. I hope he won't until I reach the infinite ocean. Once I'm there, no one can catch me, Darth explained. Why is that? Michael inquired. Darth was once again taken aback by the god's lack of knowledge. Nonetheless, he chose to share information until they reached the location of the hidden divine portals. The infinite ocean earned its name for a reason. Moreover, the gods hold no sway over the ocean. It's a forbidden zone, Darth clarified. As they conversed, they ascended a sand dune and beheld the oasis in the distance. The lush appearance of the oasis offered a stark contrast to the surrounding desert. Is that where you've hidden the portals? Michael asked Darth. Darth nodded. With a relieved sigh, Michael and Darth made their way towards the oasis. Despite its apparent lack of inhabitants, Michael remained vigilant, his senses on high alert. Allow me some time to dispel the illusions. Once they're gone, I'll activate the portals, and you can use one to reach Nimbosia, Darth instructed Michael. Sounds like a plan, Michael responded. As the oasis drew closer, Michael's excitement grew. The realm of gods held both challenges and opportunities that he was eager to explore. How much time do you need to dispel the illusions? Michael inquired. 10 minutes should suffice, replied Darth. Approaching the oasis, Michael squatted down to splash his face with the cool water. The refreshing sensation of the water against his skin revitalized him. Can we really trust this guy? Iag's voice whispered from his coat pocket. Absolutely not, and we don't need to. Once we have the portal, we'll go our separate ways, Michael replied. I think we should eliminate him, suggested Iag. No, I suspect he has some tricks up his sleeve. We shouldn't make more enemies in this world until we understand the situation better, Michael explained. While washing his face, Michael glanced at his reflection in the clear water. But his attention was quickly drawn to something else. In the sky, a fiery and brilliant object streaked through, rapidly approaching them. Turning slowly, Michael saw what seemed like a shooting star heading straight for them. An uneasy feeling settled over him as he frowned, sensing that something was off. The shooting star grew larger and drew nearer. Damn it! Michael leaped into the oasis just as the fireball struck the sand nearby, triggering a powerful explosion. Emerging from the water, Michael observed a figure emerging from the aftermath of smoke and sand. The fiery ambience was accompanied by the heavy clank of armor, and a metallic scent of blood permeated the air. Agra wants to have a little chat with you, Darth. The figure's voice cut through the lingering smoke and sand. Michael's gaze shifted to Darth, who was gradually rising to his feet. He wants his favorite angel back. The figure's words were aimed directly at Darth. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.